Guess what day it is? Huh? Hump Day?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. We're at 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker. Great to have you with us on a relatively cool morning in St. Louis. Second alert weather. Kids, if you're inside, when you go outside, it's going to be 35 degrees out there. So wear a heavy jacket.
A heavy jacket? Yes, because I'm not used to it. And I was very shocked this morning. I have the sweatshirt on.
And Cade Smith, who's normally, by the way, an eighth inning guy, and shows up with it in the third for the Indians in that game.
Yep.
Second inning. So it was the postseason. All bets are off. The managing is just weird in the postseason, and that is about as weird as it gets, walking somebody to get to Aaron Judge.
Why do you think that is? I mean, of course, a long season, but it seems like managers manage different than they do during the regular season as opposed to the postseason. It's like, well, if this has worked for you all year long, why change things in the postseason?
I think if we go back to the bullpen game for the Dodgers the other day, you feel like you have a chance in the postseason, and you have so few opportunities. You only have 7 or 5, so you don't want a team to get away from you. Like if Soto gets a hit there, and you're all of a sudden down, it was 3-0 at the end of that inning. It would have been 4 right there with Judge coming to the plate if Soto gets a hit. If the Yankees are up 4-0, that game's done in the second inning. So I thought Stephen Vogt mentioned it when he talked about it in an interesting manner. He said, I just wanted to stop the game right there. And to their credit, after the sac fly that they did, they got back within 1. They had it at 3-2. And I thought the way the Cleveland manager managed it was right.
It's a matter of survival.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. I go back to why would you be giving starters this kind of money if they're not going to pitch in postseason play? Like, just start from the beginning of the season and build your team with the best lights-out bullpen that you can have, because in postseason play, that's what it comes down to. You need to have great relievers and multiple high-leverage relievers because the starters are coming out. I mean, Garrett Cole lasted 5 innings. In Game 1 against Kansas City, he was a non-factor. Now, he did pitch well in the second appearance that he had, but you're just not seeing guys go deep. So why not just overpay for your bullpen and get high-leverage relievers?
Not a bad idea. By the way, the Cleveland starter, their ace Tanner Bybee, went 1 1/3 and only threw 39 pitches. They could bring him back in Game 5 on 3 days rest. Would you guys do that?
I would.
Yes.
I think I would too.
I would.
Now, Mike Schilt might say, I tried that, it didn't work with Dylan Cease. I mean, there's...
But Cease had thrown a lot of pitches. I think the 39 pitches for me is the key here.
Yeah, I mean, and if your season's on the line, you throw out your best guys and say, we're going to take our best shot.
Bob Gibson did it back in my day on 2 days rest.
Back in my day. Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore, Randy. I don't think that we'll ever see that happen again.
Could you imagine a guy, I mean, he'd be lauded a hero if he came back on 2 days rest.
Yeah.
We'll never forget Madison Bumgarner, will we?
No.
The last 5 innings against the Royals, or Randy Johnson coming back just to on... Yeah, he was on 1 day's rest to finish off the 2001 World Series.
He's such an outlier.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen, and I wish it did. I mean, I wish more teams took chances with these guys, but I'll go back to it. I just think you load up on your bullpen, high-leverage guys, and say, go get them.
Not a bad idea.
I wish that we could go back to that. That's why it just felt so great to see Jack Flaherty the other day at least go 7 innings, which is great, but it feels like so rare that you see that in the postseason now.
And especially with a guy like Flaherty, because we're just not used to that anymore. I wonder, this is an interesting thought, and unfortunately we lost Whitey Herzog, but I wonder if it was 2024 and he had both Bruce Sutter and Raleigh fingers, if he would still trade fingers.
I don't know. I don't think he would.
I don't know. That's a
I don't
good
think.
question.
Why would you?
Why would you? Right.
You know, I mean,
That
you
is a
need
good
a
thought.
couple guys. I mean, it would make sense to have them 2 closers that are elite.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that?
That'd be pretty interesting.
Interesting text here is that the 314 says, in terms of a superstar, what about looking at Lars Nootbaar as an international superstar? I think there's some sense to that.
Sure, but I think the guy's got to perform.
Got to stay on the field, no question about it.
He just hasn't been anything close to a star performing player yet.
I would just take the World Baseball Classic and kind of separate that from what he's done in Major League Baseball.
How about this? Can we call him a celebrity rather than a star?
That's a good way to put it.
Oh, yeah, celebrity. I mean, it is great to have, of course, that international attention for your team. As we talked about, not comparing him to Ohtani whatsoever, but look at how much money that they have gotten in from Japan, just advertisement-wise, because of Shohei Ohtani. And Lars Nootbaar has been doing a lot of commercials, all the different kind of stuff for Japan. So it does give you a lot of attention, but he does have to stay on the field.
This is not an affront to Lars Nootbaar, who I think has a chance if he does stay on the field and advances. I think he can become a pretty good player. But on the world stage, he is what Bo Hart is to St. Louis.
Probably a good comp. Yeah. I mean, somebody that you love and you're pulling for. And on the world stage, I think you're right. That's something that would come to mind. I wonder if the glare on it has dimmed a little bit just because World Baseball Classic is over.
Right.
And so it's been there, done that, and now he'd have to do it again, which means he'd have to put up numbers in Major League Baseball.
Right. There's where it all starts for him.
It is. You have to stay healthy.
No doubt about it. That's Brooke. That's Dan. I'm Randy. Coming up, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line.
Yo-ho.
For... It's Ask Uncle Randy Day. 314-399-9646. 314-399. Yo-ho! Hey, it's cold outside. You got to put the big coat on. Things are changing here. Is it too cold for Uncle Randy to go out and play golf? Uncle Dan thinks it is.
It's definitely too cold.
Dan is concerned.
I am. I don't need you losing your voice coming in here. We need you to drive the show.
Okay. Do we have any wood? You want me to knock? Something. Here, I'll knock on the bottom.
Your head.
No, bottom of the counter, right? Bottom of the counter. Oh, yeah, I can do that. I've never lost my voice once in my life.
Oh, okay. I really hope that you knock on some wood there, Randy.
I did, the wood on the bottom of the counter. Yeah.
You really haven't, huh?
Never, not once.
Really?
Bad cold didn't get you?
Never. No.
Wow.
Not once.
That feels impossible.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Do you have tonsils?
Knocking on wood. Yeah, I do.
Okay, just making sure. I know that some people have removed their tonsils and it's actually helped them from getting colds and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Have to keep that in mind.
If I get strep throat one more time, my doctor is ripping my tonsils out.
Oh,
Really?
it's really painful.
I used to get strep throat once or twice a year for about 10 years, from like 13 to 23. My doctor was like, you come in here one more time, I'm ripping your tonsils out.
Aren't the only things you can eat if you have your tonsils are Jell-O and ice cream, though? That's not a bad
just for a
trade-off.
short time until it
a year?
Heals.
A year?
No, I don't think even a year.
Yes, but Randy, I've
Are
also...
you trying to lose weight? Is that what you're trying to do?
Ice cream and Jell-O.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it would knock you out of this line of business for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's the thing. It takes, if you're in radio, having your tonsils taken out in your 30s or 40s, 50s, 60s, that's going to knock you out of work for a little bit because your voice is going to be a little strained.
Okay. Thanks for the warning.
By the way, this date in postseason history, this was the Jack Clark home run back in 1985. Adios. Goodbye.
And maybe that's
a winner.
How about that? Off of Tom Niedenfuer.
The best part of that is Pedro Guerrero in left field throwing down his glove like a little leaguer. That's the best.
Guys,
Dan, you might have spoiled a fight question over here.
No.
Did I?
Well, certainly not. Well, maybe for somebody else.
Oh, that's a shot at the listeners,
Randy.
Randy.
No, maybe. Well, come on.
You know what? I had a different one in my back pocket. Glad I get to use it.
Everybody
Sorry,
knows I
Matthew.
know that. So I messed up the. I will say that I messed up the Immaculate Grid today. So one of my go-tos for the Immaculate Grid for the Doyers and the Cardinals is Reggie Smith. And one of the questions today, not a question, but one of the things that you had to have, spoiler alert, is a 100 RBI Dodger. I could have sworn that Reggie Smith, I use him all the time, would have had a 100 RBI season for the Doyers. He maxed out at 93 with them. Had a 100 RBI season here with the Cardinals, and I should have put Guerrero in.
Yeah.
But I thought for sure Reggie Smith had a 100 RBI season. So I only got 8 of the 9 of the Immaculate Grid.
I think that's so good.
Do you use that as a warm-up for the fight?
It's just to sharpen my brain for the day.
Okay.
I do that. I do the Wordle on New York Times, and I do the Connections game. And that kind of sharpens my brain for the day.
That's pretty good.
And
It's
then,
more than I do.
Oh, and then also this.
And Mountain Dew, of course.
That helps sharpen my brain, too.
Yeah.
Ask Uncle Randy is coming your way next on 101 ESPN.
a question for Uncle Randy? Let him dive into his infinite well filled with wisdom to find you answers. Text 314-399-9646. It's Ask Uncle Randy on 101 ESPN.
I've been around, you know.
You can reach us on the text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. You can email AskUncleRandy at 101ESPN.com. That's a rarely used item that will allow you to get in and get your question answered. And you can also join us on the YouTube, on our Air Alliance Heating and Cooling Team video chat. And you can ask a question there as well. We have multiple ways to get in touch with the opening drive.
On the YouTube. Yeah, you did get an email. Was that a few weeks ago? And we never heard anything back. Remember that?
The woman that wanted us to, basically set up her daughter
Matchmaker?
with a guy. Yeah,
Rocky was shaking his head, but I want to see us make a love connection on this show.
I think it'd be
That is like a
fabulous.
dream of mine to be able to do that.
Does somebody have a rose and stuff?
Yes.
Okay, we can do it.
And we can actually go to the wedding too and give a speech.
I'm sorry. We're going to be better at this than the billion-dollar produced television show that does it twice a year and fails every time?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to be better than them at this.
I feel like we
We're gonna
would be better at it.
We're trying. They aren't.
Okay.
I think. I've never seen the show, not once, but I'm assuming that we would try harder than they do.
I feel like we would.
All right, Diamonds Direct, let's go.
All right, let's get to
Is
this.
it Bachelorette you're talking about?
Yeah, Bachelor,
Bachelor
Bachelorette.
and Bachelorette.
Yeah, now they have like a golden.
What's the one with the Cougars?
Golden.
With the cougar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
What's the one with the cougars?
Hold on a second. It's Cougars or alternatively Cougar singular because that's the Bachelorette.
Oh, okay. So it's just one with her.
There could be one with just her, and then there's a bunch of guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on right now. But then there's Cougar.
As the great Bob Ramsey has said, there's no such thing as a male cougar.
It's true.
It just doesn't work that way.
No.
It doesn't. I was going to say, is there
Yeah.
a name for that?
No, guys have tried it. It doesn't work.
It's called a stockbroker.
There you go.
Oh, man.
Uncle Randy, my girls 11, 8, 6, and 4 want a puppy. So do their parents. However, most of them aren't big fans of picking up after themselves, and chores and the minimal chores that we expect them to do are a struggle. Will a dog make all of that come together, or would I end up being the primary caretaker?
You will,
Sole
here's-
caretaker is actually how he phrased it.
Here's a great opportunity for you to present leadership skills to your 11-year-old. And you have to say, okay, your little sisters are younger than you. You are going to need to take care of this puppy. And that includes feeding. That includes cleaning up. That includes you're going to have to walk the dog to the vet occasionally so that the dog can get shots. So, yes, get the puppy from one of the great rescue organizations, the Humane Society or the APA. Don't get your dog from a breeder. And have the dog in your house. There's nothing like having a dog in the house. And yeah, ultimately you're going to wind up being the primary caretaker, but it's a great example for your kids as to how to take care of a living being.
Good luck with that.
Yep.
Because Dan's going through this right now with Fred. Fred is how many months?
Fred is 3 or 4 months old, and the kids all want the dog, and we'll take care of it. We'll probably, we'll do all the things that you talked about, Randy, and none of that has come to fruition.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like you kind of just have to hold them to it a little bit. I wanted a dog for a really long time when I was a little girl, and for my 10th birthday, I was very adamant about wanting a puppy, and my parents had me do presentations about why I deserved a dog and also what I would do to take care of the dog, and I had to really show around the house that I could handle.
PowerPoint?
I think I did do a PowerPoint, and I had to really showcase that I knew how to take care of a dog, understood the responsibilities with it. I already had chores to do around the house, but just showcasing that I could handle that next step in taking care of a dog, and I got a dog.
And how'd you do?
I did great. Max was fantastic, my childhood dog. He
Maximilian,
lived
right?
Max, because we do middle names for our dogs. So Maximilian Grimsley was my childhood dog's name, and he was spectacular.
What was the middle name?
A million.
Max?
I was a 10-year-old. What do you want me to do?
That's cool. That's really, I like that.
That's a full name.
So this guy didn't mention, he said, we also have 1-year-old twins.
Yeah, can we just, we need to get
You're
a
a
scope
glutton
on
for
this.
punishment,
the
my
guy
man.
the guy has kids 11, 8, 6, 4, and then 2 at 1. He's got 6 kids, and you want to add an agent of chaos into your home?
Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
Do you like fun or not? That's what it comes down to. Dogs are fun.
Have the 11-year-old carry around one of the twins for you. There's the puppy.
That's the puppies?
Yeah, but you just can't put the twin outside when it's 35 degrees.
No, please don't do that.
Shouldn't put a puppy outside when it's 35 degrees.
Where's
Well,
the
they
dog
have to
going
go to the bathroom.
You shouldn't leave him outside in 35 degrees. Fine.
Well, not for a long period of
Put him out for a
time.
minute until the puppy's ready to come in.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that guy does not need to add another,
Yes, you do.
especially one that
Puppies are the best.
They are.
Yeah, but he's already running zone coverage. He's outnumbered
Clearly
6-2.
Clearly not. There's very little protection in that household.
Oh, Randy. Okay, what's the next Uncle Randy we have?
No fist pump that,
no
Matthew.
fist pumping. And he knocked over his drink.
Oh, no. Don't worry. Pepsi syndrome here in the studio.
Oh, well.
It's okay. By the way, we did have some people text in while you're dealing with the soda, giving us some names for what you called an older gentleman, because we had cougar for an older woman, dating-wise. Older gentleman, they have Leonardo DiCaprio, Silver Fox. I like the DiCaprio one.
That's a good one. Really good.
He does that a lot of the times. Okay, maybe we'll move on to another Uncle Randy as Rocky deals with the soda. Dear Uncle Randy and gang, my in-laws have no social life or friends really and assume anytime my wife and I make plans, they're included. How do I appropriately tell them to go kick rocks? That's from the 636.
Don't tell them that you have plans unless you have kids and they're going to watch the kids. But my recommendation would be to not tell them that you have plans to go out. Right?
Really? You just do it under the table.
I never told people what my life plans were for a weekend or something like that. Do you guys?
I just don't have any.
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
never.
I don't-
You don't have to tell your in-laws what you're doing.
Did you get along with your in-laws?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, yeah.
Did you hang out with them often?
No.
No.
We talk about conviction, and you didn't have conviction in that answer. Yeah.
No, I was just in. I never even considered the possibility of in-laws wanting to hang out. That's why I'm having the response that I am. Like if you and your spouse want to go do something, just go do it. You don't have to tell your in-laws that you're going.
Now, your in-laws must have been over, though, when you had kids, right?
Yeah, that was fine. Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is about this particular situation where the in-laws are trying to invite themselves into your life and into your social life. That's not necessary. And my recommendation would be, no, you don't have to invite them, but don't tell them that you're going to a movie or that you're going out to dinner or something like that.
So we have a follow-up. They said, my mother-in-law expects a phone call every day from her daughter, so keeping plans quiet is nearly impossible.
Well, I would suggest that's not the case. Does the daughter really have to tell the mom where they're going tonight? Come on.
Yeah, you could. I just imagine, though, how awkward it would be where you didn't tell them, and then you go out to dinner, and what if you ran into them out to dinner?
Mother-in-law expects a phone call every day.
Yeah. I would suggest maybe that the daughter, with the relationship with the mom, which is great, necessary, but maybe the first conversation has to be with the wife about
about keeping those plans a little bit more quiet. I understand like hanging out every once in a while, and of course family events like holidays, you get together, different things like that.
Yeah.
But I can understand how that's a little bit much, doing it every single weekend, hanging out with your in-laws. You want to hang out with people your own age.
Exactly, right. Yeah, and you don't want to tell your in-laws everything that's going on in your life. I mean, if you're talking about life, look,
Randy.
I'm just.
Randy.
No, I'm trying to process this because I've never heard of this before, that somebody would have to spend so much time with their in-laws. And there's a reason for that. And maybe the big thing is maybe we're over communicating to the in-laws.
Yeah.
Maybe the in-laws are being invited unbeknownst to you by
That's true.
The bride.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if kids are involved or not, but maybe it could come in handy down the road where if you guys do want to go out and you do have a close relationship with your in-laws, they can do some babysitting.
Yep,
that would be
natural.
really good.
Yeah.
Okay, from the 314, Dear Uncle Randy, my wife wants more Halloween decorations. I feel like it's a bit much to go all out on Halloween, then set up all the Christmas decorations immediately following. Take it easy on Halloween and go hard on the best time of the year.
My suggestion would be that you go to Lowe's or Home Depot and get some of those 13-foot tall Halloween decorations.
I love those.
Those are
I'm not going
fabulous.
to do it myself, but I like seeing other people do it.
There's nothing wrong with going all out on joy. And if the Halloween decorations bring joy, then let the Halloween decorations do it. And there's nothing wrong with going all out. Hey, let's give a little credence here and a little love to Thanksgiving. Let's do some Thanksgiving decorations because Thanksgiving gets no love. We go from Halloween right into Christmas. So let's decorate for Thanksgiving, and then let's decorate for the Christmas holiday, the winter holidays too. Let's do it all. Let's have fun.
Enjoy every single holiday.
Yeah.
How do you decorate for Thanksgiving, though?
Live turkeys in your front yard.
Oh, live turkeys in your front yard?
Yeah.
Puritan hats with the buckles.
Yeah, pumpkins and gourds. Yeah.
Les Nessman, just drop them out of a helicopter.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I thought turkeys could fly. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I would suggest that it'd be fun to decorate for all holidays.
Have you guys already decorated for Halloween?
A little bit. Yeah, we got some pumpkins out there and stuff like that.
Same with me.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm always last minute. I'm really bad about decorating for holidays.
Well, you got some time here. You got 2 weeks from today.
I think I'm going to do it this
2 weeks
weekend.
from tomorrow.
I always keep it really simple, though.
Well,
The day after Halloween should be a holiday for kids. They should be
yes.
off
Yeah.
school.
Right. No doubt about it.
For sure.
Yeah.
They definitely need to be off school because they're out late, especially the little guys.
Yep. Got that all cleaned up, Matthew? How you doing over there? Okay, we're good.
We're good. We made it through it.
Okay, you got one more?
Let me see. I could go toot. We are getting a lot of suggestions about how to deal with the in-laws.
We also got somebody who said just get a robot dog for the guy earlier.
Yes, somebody said read the book Boundaries.
Somebody said their brother has 10 kids and 7 dogs. How do they have a farm? Like how do you put that many people in a house?
That would stress me out.
That would stress me out every day.
Yeah. Okay, maybe hear one from the 618. Good morning, Randy and friends. I'm a middle school teacher. The PE teacher texted me that it's dodgeball week. How much, if any, mercy should I show when I go play this afternoon? Secondly, what's the best way to bounce back from arm pain?
First of all, no mercy. Duck, dodge, dip, dive, and dodge. There we go. So no mercy. And the best way to bounce back from arm pain, there's 2 things to do. Call the doctor and get a cortisone shot. Or Advil.
This is a little extreme for an elementary school dodgeball.
You're trying to throw for dodgeball. Advil is a great way to go. That just freezes the feeling in your arm. You tear a rotator cuff, it feels fine until you get home, and then the Advil wears off. But for the dodgeball game specifically, which is the key here today, you just take some Advil, and the key is in dodgeball, you have to have a sense. Like, train this morning with a blindfold on. I think that's a really effective way to go about. And here's another thing. Get somebody in the household to throw a wrench at you. Because if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
I think I've seen that before.
Yeah, that sounds really familiar. Probably a great movie that it came from. Now, my question here
a documentary
is
about
a documentary.
It's just old Irish wisdom.
Yep.
So, question here. Is he saying that he's facing elementary school kids?
Yeah. And there's probably one on performance enhancers.
No. It feels like
low-grade beaver tranquilizer. Thank you, sir.
It kind of feels like maybe that he might have the advantage here, Randy. I don't know how much practice he needs beforehand.
His arm is sore.
Well, I think he's saying that afterwards that his arm will be very sore.
Yeah. No mercy. That's the bottom line here. That's the takeaway here from this particular edition of Ask Uncle Randy. Thank you, Brooke, and thank you, Matthew. Thank you. I think Matthew will never give me a fist bump for a good answer ever again.
Yeah, I know. It lost a drink.
I took down my whole train of drinks. I was like Brooke over here. I had multiple drinks, and I knocked over one, and it took out the other 2.
Holy cow!
Those Stanleys are beasts.
Coming up, the Blues gave up another lead, or allowed Minnesota to take the lead last night. How concerning is this first 4-game stretch of the season? That's next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night, the Blues fall in their home opener to the Minnesota Wild 4-1. There was some history late in the game, as the last goal from the Wild was just the 15th goalie goal in NHL history. Also in Major League Baseball playoffs, the Yankees take a 2-0 lead in their ALCS with a 6-3 victory over the Guardians. Game 3 of the NLCS, knotted up at one game apiece, will be heard right here on 101 ESPN tonight. Dodgers and Mets Game 3 pregame starts at 6:30. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
The Blues fell behind 3-0 last night against the Minnesota Wild, and that continues a trend for the Blues early in the season. In the opener at Seattle, they were down 3-2. They were down 4-1 to San Jose before coming back for that 5-4 victory. Against Vegas, they were down 3-1, wound up losing 4-3, and then last night down 2-0 and wound up falling in that game by a score of 4-1. And that's a problem for the Blues. And by the way, last night it was 3-0 as well. But coming back from behind, even for the most talented teams in the league, is rare and difficult. And for a team that ultimately, because their best player and their most important player is their goalie, they're going to have to start scoring first. It's a different game in the NHL when a team scores first. It's different for the Blues. It's different for every team. And the Blues have been playing with fire and falling behind here, and that needs to stop. They need to get off to quicker starts.
Yeah, I think they do need to get off to quicker starts because, as you mentioned, it seemed like last season, every time that they did, they would actually win those games. And when you're constantly chasing from behind, of course, it's going to be really hard to do, especially when you're playing really good teams. Really good teams, when you're trying to claw your way back, is nearly impossible. And now you've seen that for 4 straight games where the Blues have tried to claw their way back into this one. You can look at this and say, with last night, a lot of calls did not go their way, and that's fair. Especially, we mentioned it earlier, that early whistle, for that Kyrou goal really changed things. That high stick with Toropchenko changed things as well. The buzzer beater that didn't beat the buzzer, that happened too. But still, at the same time, the blue line play a lot of turnovers. I think that was my big takeaway that I noticed in the game, and we talked about it. But Nick Leddy, it was another goal against where he was on the ice. Through 4 games, Leddy has been on the ice for 7 goals, or almost 2 a game. So that's something that's concerning. I know it's just 4 games, but it's not been a great 4 games for Nick Leddy so far.
I'm not overly concerned. 4 games in, clearly you'd like to have better starts, but I'm not overly concerned. I think you're still trying to figure out personnel on your team. You mentioned Leddy, and he moved down a pairing, 3rd pairing with Matthew Kessel. Ryan Suter moved up with Colton Parayko. That, to me, is one of the issues that they need to figure out. Nick Leddy has not played well, and maybe moving him down with a different combination could help. We saw a lot in the preseason, Parayko and Broberg together. Is that something that maybe moves forward with this team? The top 2 lines, do you want Buchnevich at center? Do you want to move him to wing? I think these are things that you figure out. And maybe it does help you with combinations, just playing with different people, getting a jump start to your game. But I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, you want to have better starts. It's just a matter of maybe figuring out some combinations on the ice, too.
Last year when the Blues scored first, 43, 33, and 6. And pretty much every team in the league is dominant when they score first.
Yeah, it really makes a lot of sense. And you talked about with Nick Leddy. I mentioned this yesterday. I really would like to see Broberg with Colton Parayko. I feel like that's a pairing that makes a lot of sense, especially my ears perked up yesterday. I don't know if it did for you guys, too, when we were talking to John Kelly about Philip Broberg, and his comp for him was Jay Bouwmeester. When did Colton Parayko play his best?
Yeah, with Bo.
With Jay Bouwmeester. So I was thinking about that yesterday, about how I'd really like to see those 2 paired together. And I think it could be something that really works out for him. Of course, at the end of the day, too, you still need more from your guys like Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas. When they go, the team goes.
618 said last night, let's say, they not only did not get off to a quick start, but they never got started at all. I don't know if that's correct. The one thing that I looked at was that they were a little sloppy, and going tape to tape wasn't quite as sharp as we normally see. But I did think overall, I mean, when you look at the fact that they had 72 shot attempts, You know, I mean, you outshot them 18-5 after 2 periods. Snake bit a little bit, as you mentioned. There's some things that went against them with the officiating. I don't know. I think, though, the bottom line is you got to get off to better starts. I mean, if you get off to a better start, you're going to have more chances to win.
And how much better is the goalie going to be when he's playing with a lead? This goalie can shut a team down if given the first goal. So I would think that's something that Drew Bannister and the staff will work on today as they skate and get ready for the Islanders tomorrow night.
From the 3-1-4, biggest plus so far is the fourth line. At least you know you're getting competitiveness out of them every single night. I agree with that. I really like that WTF line, as the fans have started to call them. And Walker just continues, even with his size, and I know that's something that we've talked about a lot, being a smaller guy, he is very competitive, a fighter. I think he had 6 hits last night. He just continues to do what you need him to do, and he shows up, it feels like, every single game. Even if it's not a lot of ice time, you notice when he's out there. And I think you could say that about that entire line.
And that's something that I believe was lacking last year in having a legitimate fourth line that provided the level of energy and physicality that you need from a fourth line. I don't know why the team was built the way it was last year.
The third line, too.
Well, that was another problem, is your third line last year should have been a fourth line.
Right. And so now that you have a little bit more depth, disappointing, though, in a home opener, the Blues, at least in recent history, have won home openers, and you'd hate to have that game that's kind of but that's what you had last night. So see what they have in Game 2 of this 4-game homestand coming up.
Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. Get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Tioli next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, it's Danny Mac for Stewart's American Mortgage on this Wednesday morning. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refinance, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things, let's make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. We have called him this morning. Good morning, Stewie. And I know we're talking about rental properties and how that affects folks that are dealing with your company.
Right. Many times people that are self-employed or they have rental properties, they're not showing income on their tax returns. Sometimes they do file their tax returns. We have a program that gives you a loan based on the income of that particular property. So we don't look at your tax returns. We don't look at your personal income. We look to see what the debt service will be on that particular loan. Closed 3 of them yesterday. ESPN listeners got them done in 12 days. They got their cash, and what they're doing with the cash, they're going out and buying more rental properties. So if you're self-employed, you're not showing income, or you own rental properties and you don't have enough income to show to qualify, we got the products for you.
All right, Stewie, if it's a new home also you're looking to purchase, he'll get you to the closing table fast. Try 10 days. He'll get you the best interest rate possible. Also has the bagel loan that can help you out too. Hey, you're asking, what's the bagel loan? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. Stewie is your guy. He makes it easy. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give Stewart a call. Here's his direct line. His personal cell phone is 314-324-4440. Again, 314-324-4440. Or Stewie, what else can we do?
Google bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Time for Take It or Leave It.
Want to say something? Put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your Take It or Leave It.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
All right, time for Tioli, guys. Tom Brady approved yesterday as a 10% owner.
You just took mine.
Of the Las Vegas Raiders. Take it or leave it. Brady will have an impact on the Raiders and eventually lift the Lombardi Trophy.
I'm going to take that.
I will take it.
Yep.
How much is the ownership percentage again?
10%, but he'll probably wind up being their general manager, at least their quasi-general manager.
He's got to be, right? But he's going to walk away from $350 million to broadcast?
Oh, no, he can do both.
See, that's take it or leave it. It's a conflict of interest that he owns a team and is also broadcasting.
I will take that.
I think it is. I mean, you're in the meetings with the players. You're in the meetings with the coaches. Mm-hmm. You're going to get insight that you wouldn't normally get being on the outside. I think it's a conflict of interest to an extent.
I do too. All right, take it or leave it, guys. The NCAA is examining the rule loophole Oregon used versus Ohio State, intentionally having 12 men on the field. Take it or leave it. The NCAA should instead be looking into the rule loophole about what Ole Miss is doing, faking injuries.
Take it, 100%. Yeah, it's the Oregon did creative coaching. I think what Ole Miss does is something. If it's not a written rule, an unwritten rule, that is just not a part of a fair and reasonable competition.
I think fair and reasonable is the right way to put it, and it's just not the way that it should be done. Nick Saban had some pretty strong comments about that on College Game Day, about being fair and reasonable and playing the game properly. Mm-hmm. Now, if a player is hurt, obviously you take the time and you get him off the field and necessary, whatever that may be, but to sit there and just drop all the time, it's bad for the viewer, it's bad for the fan. I mean, it's no fun to watch.
What's really interesting about it too is that Lane Kiffin has actually pointed out this rule supposedly before, and the thing is that he's mentioned that it's something that needs to change. So it's almost like he's doing this to highlight why it needs to change.
Yeah. Good players look to the sideline, they get the signal, and then they just go down. They're standing there.
It's a bad look.
It's a really bad look. Yeah, it'd be different if they were staying down after tackle or something, but there's just a player they pick out, and his job is to look at the sideline, and if he's told to go down, just go down. Stop play right there.
Not right.
No.
Not right.
No.
So with Oregon, let's explain how they did this. So they had 12 men on the field. What was the loophole that they used? How did that all work out? I mean, I'm kind of familiar with it, but I don't remember exactly how it all unfolded.
They had 12 men on the field. The play was run, and when the play started, there were 10 seconds left, I believe.
Yeah, it was around
The play was run. 4 seconds come off the clock.
That's it.
Flag gets thrown, and so they're able just to use up time by having 12 men on the field.
Smart move.
It is a smart move, honestly.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Okay, was that the conflict of interest one? Was that?
Yeah, that was
one?
mine.
Oh, sorry, I stole it.
No problem.
All right, Matthew, what do you got on the text line?
Take it or leave it. Kansas City is a hockey franchise away from being a better sports town than St. Louis.
Oh.
Wow, Randy disliked that one so much he walked away.
I'm going to, let's see. Yeah, if you have NFL, MLB, and NHL, and MLS, and another city has the other ones but no NFL, I would say by definition, if you have the NFL and another city doesn't, and you have everything else the other city has, then I would say, yeah.
And you've
I'd
got the Sprint Center, too, which brings in huge events, especially like Big 12 basketball. KU will play there occasionally. I think you got to mix that in, too.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it mandated by college sports, the NCAA. Mizzou has to play KU, and Mizzou has to play Illinois. Now, you can do it at the Dome. You could do it at Enterprise Center, but it should be every year where these two teams, or three teams in this case, are facing each other.
Honestly, when you're looking at scheduling-wise, too, and I know that we were going to talk about this at some point today, but you almost need to stack up your schedule better anyways because of the 12-team playoff format where I think we're getting to the point where you can't have a lot of those cupcakes on your schedule because the quality of the schedule matters so much. So I agree. I would love to see Mizzou face Illinois. That would be huge to have them go against each other.
It's going to happen in 2 years.
Yep.
4-year contract. That'll be fun.
Matthew?
Yeah, I miss those games being every year. That used to be something.
Illinois fans don't. Gary Davis doesn't miss them.
In September, you'd open up at the Dome, and then in December, you'd be back down at whatever the name of the arena was at the time to watch some basketball.
Yeah.
It was a perfect little 5-month capper. Take it or leave it. Devontae Adams isn't going to make Aaron Rodgers and the Jets any better because they are still the New York Jets.
I'll take it.
I'll leave that.
Really? I don't know if it's going to make that big of a difference.
Now you have Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, Tyler Conklin on your offense. You should be able to put up some points.
And there have been times, and I don't know what Devontae Adams is right now, but there have been times where Devontae Adams has been unstoppable. Jets lost their opener 32-19. Then they beat the Titans, beat the Patriots. They lose by a point to the Broncos and lose in a one-score game to the Vikings, 23-17. You could argue that Devontae Adams makes the difference in 2 more wins, and then they lose to the Bills the other night. The last 3 games, Devontae Adams could have turned those into wins, and all of a sudden you're looking at 5-1 rather than 2-3.
Should mention Amari Cooper also was traded away. There's some trades yesterday. There's a lot of NFL news. Now, backup safety Rodney McLeod is the only Browns player, including the offense, to score more than 1 touchdown this season for the Browns.
Oh, man.
That's unbelievable.
One of 4 or 5 former St. Louis Rams left in the league. Shocking that Rodney McLeod is in there. But Zerline is in there. Hecker is in there. Rob Havenstein. I think there's one other former St. Louis Ram still in the league.
And that's it.
Yep.
Man, that dude could headhunt early in his career.
Yeah, he was.
Rodney McLeod, heck. Yep. He could take some people's heads off. I loved watching him play.
All right, one more here.
Take it or leave it. We will see Quinn Matthews and Tink Hence in the majors at some point in 2025.
I'm going to take it. Yeah, I would think that, Hens has to be healthy, but Quinn Matthews had a magnificent year, and he's right on the edge. He's 24 years old. He pitched all 4 years at Stanford, so he should be ready for the majors at this point.
Yeah, rocketed through the minor league system at over 200 strikeouts. Quinn Matthews would be my guy out of the 2.
Yeah, I think we'll see both of them. Now, with Tink Hens, he did experience some injury issues this season, so that's something to watch for going into next year.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for your texts. We do appreciate them. Coming up, Jaime Rivers talking Blues on the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
There's nothing better than the NFL season. There's nothing better than a little daily fantasy during the NFL season with our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by competing. How do you compete on Underdog? Well, it's super simple. When it comes to their champions entries, you just pick higher or lower on your favorite players' stats. You just follow your favorite players, pick higher or lower on their stats, and you can do it during the game or even before the game as well. So you can do live entries or you can set them up days ahead. You can get your NFL entries in for Thursday or even Sunday right now in Underdog Fantasy. But tonight, I'm going to put in an entry for the baseball game because I'm locked into these Major League Baseball playoffs. It's another great part about Underdog Fantasy. It's not just football. You can combine football with any other sport that they got on there, and I'm going to go with baseball tonight. Higher than 0.5 total bases on Teoscar Hernandez and Tommy Edman, and then higher than 1.5 total bases on Francisco Lindor and Freddie Freeman. I'm expecting some offense between the Dodgers and the Mets tonight. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or to UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code ROCC, and Underdog is going to give you a free pick to use on your first Cash Champions entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. It's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCC to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus in President's Day where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Presented by Boardwalk Hardwood Floors. Find your perfect new floor at BoardwalkHardwood.com.
Brooke, Dan, Randy, the opening drive, 101 ESPN. You hear Jaime Rivers in the fast lane every afternoon here on 101 ESPN. He's also Blues analyst for Bally Sports and joins us right now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN. Good morning, Rivs. How you doing?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Good. Okay, I want your impressions of last night's game. Granted, it was a 4-1 loss, but your overall impressions of the game itself with the score aside.
Tough to give an accurate takeaway because, like, the first part of the game, the Blues were all over the Wild. Again, that's been a theme in most of these games. You know, take the Vegas game out, and Blues came out first 5 minutes against Seattle, were really good. Then they kind of hit low in the middle. Then against San Jose, they came out in the first period and orchestrate one of the most dominant periods of hockey I've seen in a long time. But then the second period has a little bit of a dip. Last night, kind of felt the same way. At one point, halfway through the game, the Wild only had like 7 shots on net or something like that. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, the score isn't ideal right now, but you're taking it to them in this game. And then things kind of shifted around, and obviously you end up losing 4-1. I don't know. It was a weird night, Randy, because you'd think there would have been a whole bunch of energy in the building, and the opening presentation was fantastic. The crowd was into it, and then it kind of got real quiet for a really long time. And I understand not scoring and being down by a goal, makes the atmosphere a little bit more quiet, but it was just kind of a weird atmosphere.
Yeah, Jamie, it really was. And especially when you're talking about the home opener, the performance you saw. I know that a lot of calls didn't go their way, but it doesn't sound like that's an excuse that you think for the performance last night.
No, I mean, look, there's going to be good calls, bad calls. Do I think that the Kyrou goal should have counted? The puck was clearly still loose, in my opinion anyways, although nobody really asked me about it from the NHL. But I think that should have been a goal. The Toropchenko penalty at the start of the game to give Minnesota Wild the power play and have them score, I thought that was a bad call. But you're going to get that in a game. You're certainly going to get that throughout a season. And you got to stay focused, not let that bother you, and stick to the task at hand. And I just didn't feel like the Blues got their offense going consistently at all last night. It kind of was like spotty little times where you had lots of possession. But apart from that, it was just a lot of neutral zone play last night.
Jamie, Nick Leddy was moved down a pairing, third pairing with Matthew Kessel. Ryan Suter moved up with Colton Parayko. You made a living out of playing defense. If you're Nick Leddy, how do you get things going? How do you get back to where you were the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think he just moved the puck quicker. I'm watching Nick Leddy out there, and I mean, he is blessed with tremendous skating talent. And, he uses that, but what I'm seeing certainly last night, and I wouldn't say all the games, but last night was he's just hanging on to the puck, just a little too long, looking for that bigger, better play. And that's where you fall into the trap at that point, Danny, because I can tell you as a defenseman, your best option is your first option. If you're looking for the bigger, better play all the time, especially nowadays, the game is just too fast. The players are too fast. They check too well. They're going to close down all of those lanes for you, and then all of a sudden you turn the puck over, and we saw last night a couple of turnovers end up in the back of the net.
Ribs, had you ever seen a goalie score a goal before?
Not live and in person, Randy. No, that's the first one where I've been blessed to see it as I watched it go all the way down the ice and in the net, and I wasn't too thrilled about it, I'm not going to lie. A little bit of insult to injury at the end of all that. But, I remember watching one on TV, live, I guess TV, when Ron Hextall did it way back when for the Philadelphia Flyers. I thought to myself, man, no goalie will ever do that again. Boy, was I wrong. Lots of them have.
Jamie, I guess another positive for the team, and somebody texted this in earlier, and I agree with them. They said that fourth line has really impressed them through 4 games so far this season. What have you seen from them?
Well, one, I love the fourth line. I think that their chemistry is awesome. They play very well off of each other. Walker's got such speed. So does Toropchenko. All 3 guys are physical. They protect the puck. They're just sound defensively. Really like their game. However, I'll say this. When the main focus for 3 of the 4 games that you played has been on the fourth line, that means the rest of the guys maybe aren't doing what they could be doing. Because we should be talking about Thomas with 2 or 3 points, or Kyrou with 2 or 3 goals, and Buchnevich leading the way offensively. And they're trying. I get it. It's early in the season. But right now, with the fourth line kind of being the star of the show, that tells a little bit of a story, too.
Yeah, what have you thought of those top 2 lines? What in terms of, the experiment continues with Buchnevich at center. Sometimes he moves to wing. You see a little, change up with those lines. What have you thought of that in the first 4 games?
Yeah, it's weird because I know that they're rotating guys in and out of those lines, and it's kind of been a little bit of a rotation, or a revolving door, rather. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I'd have to talk to the players. Back when I played, back in my day, Dan.
Oh, yeah. That wasn't that long ago, Ribs. Let's not make you out to be too old here. Come on.
No, but the game, the game evolves so fast.
Yeah.
So being out of the game for 10 or 11 years feels like an eternity. But, when we were playing, you liked continuity. You liked getting to know your line mates so you could feed off of each other, start, making up plays off face-offs, having certain strategies that you deploy because the 3 of you guys are your defensive pair. You guys know each other so well. I don't know if so many different variations of the top 2 lines is hindering them at all, but I know that, like, Robert Thomas plays with Jordan Kyrou and Pavel Buchnevich for an extended period of time last night. Then the lines change up again, and then he's back with Saad and Neighbors, and then Buchnevich goes from wing to center, back to wing, which, I think we talked about that a long time ago. The Blues said they weren't going to do that, but they're doing it. So I don't know. I just don't think there's been enough time yet for those top 2 lines to figure out who the actual top 2 lines are and figure out how to build some chemistry.
Finally, Rivs, 4 games in, obviously early, small sample size, but you've seen enough of this team now through preseason and these 4 games. Can you envision this team going on a run? Doug Armstrong told us it was a playoff team. Do you think it has a chance to be a playoff team?
I still do. I really do. I mean, it's so early to kind of, predict that. But when you look at the depth of the roster, you look at the goaltending, you look at the improved defensive core, I just think this is a team that's going to be knocking at the door. Do I think they're an automatic playoff team? I think that's tough to predict right now. But I'm going to stand by what I've said from the very beginning about this team, is I expect them in the last week of the regular season to be playing meaningful games. Whether that means they're staying into the playoff race or whether they're scratching and clawing to get to a playoff spot, that to me would be a positive for this club, that their last 2, 3, 4 games mean something very much.
Jamie, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. We'll be tuned in this afternoon.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Take care. Jamie Rivers, Blues broadcaster and co-host of the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN.
He's really right, though. When we were talking about that fourth line, it's great that you have a better fourth line than what we saw last season. But is that concerning that that's really the story so far for the Blues, is that's the line that has impressed you the most? It feels like the line chemistry hasn't really panned out for your top 6 forwards.
Yeah, I think it's got to be. I mean, when you think about how this team is going to win, we talked about this. Thomas has got to be, in my mind, a 90-point guy, 95. I think Kairu's got to be 35 to 40. And if you're not getting production out of those two guys, it's going to be a long season because you can't just count on the bottom 6. You can't. It's got to be production from the top guys. Their margin for error is slim.
Along those lines, the Blues don't have a McDavid or a Draisaitl or a McKinnon or a Crosby in his prime or a Matthew Tkachuk. Can they win with a dominant bottom 6 and an average top 6? That's next on 101 ESPN.
All three guys are physical. They protect the puck. They're just sound defensively. Really like their game. However, I'll say this: when the main focus for 3 of the 4 games that you played has been on the fourth line, that means the rest of the guys maybe aren't doing what they could be doing, because we should be talking about Thomas with 2 or 3 points, or Kyrou with 2 or 3 goals, and Buchnevich leading the way offensively. And they're trying. I get it. It's early in the season. But right now, with the fourth line kind of being the star of the show, that tells a little bit of a story, too.
We all know the Blues won the Stanley Cup in 2019. It didn't really have a player that was going to be an MVP. Tarasenko was pretty much past his prime. Ryan O'Reilly was a really good player at that point. Shen got moved, not Shen, but Steen got moved down to the fourth line. Shen got moved over to the wing. The Blues didn't really have an MVP-type player. And you look at this roster, and I kind of feel the same way. As good as Robert Thomas can be, and he can be a 100-point center, and he'll join us later in the show, I don't see him as an MVP candidate in the NHL. Last night, he started the game with Saad on his left side, Neighbors on his right. Then you have Buchnevich, Bolduc, and Kyrou. I think we can all agree that that's not going to be when Dom Lucian puts together his best top 6 in the NHL at the Athletic. He's not going to say that that group is among the top half in the league. Then the bottom half, Shen, Joseph, and Holloway, Faksa, Walker, and Toropchenko, the WTF line. And what Jamie said is exactly right. We've been talking about the fourth line, and at times, your fourth line needs to be your best line. They need to bring energy, but not on a regular basis. And I don't know that the Blues, especially with the talent around them in the Central Division, can go through this season and continue to have the fourth line be the best line. I think they need Thomas to step up and be a 100-point guy. They need Jake Neighbors to be a 30-goal guy. They need Jordan Kyrou to be a 40-goal guy. They need Buchnevich to be a point-a-game guy. I don't think the Blues can go through the season with the performance that we've seen in the first 4 games and expect to be a playoff team, and certainly not a dominant team.
And that's the thing, is that you don't want it to be too worried, because it is just 4 games of the season. But in the small sample size, you've seen this Blues team really struggle, where they're having to come back in a lot of the games. They were able to in those first 2 games of the season, but then they have really struggled since to be able to claw their way back. And I know they had calls that didn't go their way, but at the same time, as you mentioned there, you need Robert Thomas to go. You need Jordan Kyrou to go. You need Buchnevich to go. You need Jake Neighbors, who had a breakout season last year, to go. And that's really what the thing is there, because you can't have your fourth line be the star of the show. And it's great to have this complimentary piece. You mentioned about that 2019 team. That fourth line was great. It was a nice complimentary piece to have, but they can't be the stars of the show. I think that's a very legitimate question, is who are the stars for the Blues right now? Is it going to be Thomas? Is it going to be Kyrou?
Well, I think it'd be the top lines and keeping them together. Jamie brought up the point, and I asked him the question about moving guys around. Your fourth line is your fourth line. They bring energy, but your top line has got to be the effective line. Your second line has got to be chipping in goals. And maybe it's a situation where you kind of bite the bullet on Buchnevich being at center and move him to a wing and say, this is our top line, and we're going to get the most out of him we can, but you're going to get energy out of that fourth line. We saw that in Seattle, made the difference in the game, got it rolling again. They should always bring energy every single night. It's just they're not going to have the ice time or the skill that the other lines have.
And one of the things the Blues have to look at with people like Bolduc here, and I think Dylan Holloway as he ascends, and at some point they're going to have to get Dvorsky here, because as we saw with Robert Thomas and as we're seeing with Kyrou, it takes time for players to become impact players, and they don't do that at the AHL level. They don't do it in college. Sure would have been nice to have Jimmy Snuggerud around this year to start the clock going towards him being an impact player, but this is not a Stanley Cup championship team this year. You need your future impact guys to be playing now so that you get to a point where they can be impact players for a team that can win a cup.
Well, you mentioned the 2019 team and how there wasn't really many stars there, but it felt like you had a lot of guys right there perfectly in their prime. You had Tarasenko going. You had even Jaden Schwartz, who was performing so well. Ryan O'Reilly was just fantastic, because even just what he was able to do defensively too, outside of offensively, he was just such an impactful player in what he was able to do. So that's the thing, is who was the stars right now on this team. And I know we talked about it a lot last season about who's the elite players. I hope that that's not the same question again this year.
Can Jake Neighbors get to 30 goals? I mean, can some of these other guys that outside of Thomas and Kyrou play to a different level? And that's also part of this, is having young guys and some of those that maybe you anticipate matching or surpassing what they did last year, doing that. And that's part of the growing pains, I think, that the Blues are facing this year at times. Not all the time, but at times, you know, guys like Jake Neighbors, can they be a 25 to 30 goal scorer? I don't know. I mean, we're going to see. It's back-to-back years. It's tough to do that. More of a bullseye on his back. You know what you're going to get out of Thomas. You'd like to get more out of Kyrou, but some of the other complementary players, can they be what you anticipate to make those top two lines go, and finding out the right combinations?
I guess if you want something to make you feel a little bit better, Connor McDavid still hasn't scored a goal yet this season, which is shocking. They did. And Leon Draisaitl, he scored in that one. The Avs have not won a game yet this season. So that's where you kind of have to put things into perspective, is that sometimes people get off to really slow starts, or not the starts that you were expecting. Also, you didn't have Texier in the game last night too, so when he returns, maybe that changes things, because I personally like Buchnevich on the wing as opposed to centering, and I know that's something that they're experimenting with still, but when Texier was around, he was your second line center we saw.
Here's one other question I have about this team. One of many I have about this team. But in 2019, we know what a Stanley Cup champion team looks like. And there was no doubt that if the game kind of started to spin out of control, Alex Pietrangelo would get the puck, and he would kind of settle things down. Ryan O'Reilly was a leader. Braden Shen was a leader. Alexander Steen was a leader. Bouwmeester, in his own way, was a leader. I don't know, and I'm not around the team, but I don't know that this group has players where you say, okay, that's the guy that when things are spinning out of control, he's going to take charge and he's going to slow things down and make things better. I don't know if we have a guy like Ryan O'Reilly where you, we had the Ryan O'Reilly school, right? First guy on the ice, last guy off the ice every single day. Clearly the hardest worker. I don't know that the Blues have those elements on their team right now.
Ryan O'Reilly was just really spectacular to watch as a leader, because even just on the media side of things, you could see it in the locker room, you could see it on the ice of how he was really delegating things, and his mood really controlled the mood of the rest of the team too. You're right. And you had Alex Pietrangelo as a part of that team too. He was a really tough leader too. Steen, as we know, a very tough leader as well. So those are a lot of guys who really impacted things in the locker room. I don't know who that guy is right now. I know that Shin is the captain. I'm not trying to discount. Justin Falk also is another guy that I think that they look to as a leader on this team, but different personalities than the ones that you had mentioned, Randy. And
the guys that you're talking about had been around for a while, you know, and that's one of the things that I look at is, Thomas now in year 5 or 6, Kyrou in another year under his belt, but your top line guys are pretty young. Some of those guys are young. Now, Booch is not, but he's in the prime of his career. So who are going to be those guys? I always look at like what you were saying, Randy, when I was covering the team, and being around it, the game slowed down, and I'm talking about 2 Hall of Famers, but when McInnes or Pronger had the puck, the game slowed down. They controlled the game. And by no means am I saying that Ryan Suter should be this guy, or pick any defenseman that you want. But I am saying that at times your defense slows the game down. And do they have that guy? I guess time will tell. It's amazing. We're in game 4. If they come out winning last night, we're saying, boy, they got this. They're 3-1. The goalie looked great. But when you're 2-2 and you kind of had a flat game in the opener, especially after the third goal was scored, it was like the air was let out of the building. But it's so early, and I'm sure they're going to figure out these combinations as they move forward.
Yeah, I would think so. It's just a matter now of performance. Who are the stars going to be, and who's going to be there when you need to find a way to win a game? Because one thing about the Blues under Hitchcock, and then this happened under Craig Berube too, and it's kind of an ethereal thing. It's hard to figure out. But they were just good at winning. Right?
Absolutely.
They found ways to win games.
Good teams do that.
Yeah, right.
they figure it out. There's veterans on the team that take you to a different level.
Exactly.
And so I think that just takes time to mature as they move forward, and some wins under their belt would definitely do that.
No doubt about it. That's Dan. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. And coming up on 101 ESPN, we've got the fight. Do we need a fighter today, Matthew?
Yeah.
We do need a fighter. Okay. So if you'd like to text in, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO with your name and the word fight, maybe you can fight me next on 101 ESPN. Hey, I want you to know about Mentality. Mentality is a great way for guys to get back to feeling the way they did earlier in their lives when you were in your 20s or your 30s. If your energy level drops off, and it does when you're in your 20s or 30s, if you just don't have the ability to power through a workout like you did, that can all change by going to Mentality. They have 2 fantastic clinics in Chesterfield and in South County. Get started at lowtusa.com. And at Mentality, they're going to do everything they can to take a look at where your body is. You check out your testosterone level with your blood work, and if your testosterone level is low, they have an FDA-approved testosterone supplemental treatment that will get you back. But not only do they take a look at that, but there was a guy that we know that had his PSA level checked, and they found out he had early stage cancer, and they found that at Mentality, and they were able literally to save his life. They'll work with your insurance company to make sure that your out-of-pocket expenses are as low as can possibly be at Mentality. Learn more today at lowtusa.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues last night fall in the home opener 4-1 to the Wild. They'll look to get back in the winning column on Thursday with another home matchup. This time they will host the New York Islanders. If you want to hear more Blues talk, you will hear St. Louis Blues center Robert Thomas joining the show in a little bit, coming up at 9 o'clock. In Major League Baseball last night, the Yankees take a 2-0 lead in the ALCS with a 6-3 victory over the Cleveland Guardians. You can catch Game 3 of the NLCS between the Dodgers and the Mets tonight on 101 ESPN. Pregame starts at 6:30. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Rocco here, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter this morning is Adam. Adam, how are you doing?
Doing all right. Hopefully keep that going.
Yeah, good energy this morning. How are you feeling about this? This is your first time facing Randy in the fight.
It is my first time. I think, not feeling like I have much of a chance, but I'm looking forward to the experience.
You're hoping to rise to the occasion, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you can't win if you don't try.
Exactly. All right, you ready for question number 1, Adam?
Let's give it a whirl.
Okay, here we go. Who is the only player in Major League Baseball history to win the regular season MVP at 2 different positions and on 2 different teams? Is it Frank Robinson, Robin Yount, or Alex Rodriguez?
Let's go with A-Rod.
Final answer?
That'll be the final answer.
The Cardinals' last series victory in the playoffs came in the 2019 NLDS when they beat which team 3-2? Was it the Cubs, the Padres, or the Braves?
Let's go with the Braves.
Good start, Adam.
Who did the Cardinals beat in the 2011 NLCS to advance to the World Series against the Rangers? Is it the Brewers, the Pirates, or the Marlins?
Oh, geez. 2011. Let's say the Marlins. Let's stick with the East.
All right. On this day in 1968, American runners Tommy Smith and John Carlos each put one fist up in protest while on the podium following their Olympic gold medals, or Olympic medal victories in the 200 meters. Where was that Olympics held? Was it Montreal, Mexico City, or Rome?
Oh, gosh. Let's go with Rome.
Is that your final answer, Adam?
That'll be the final answer.
Let me go grab Randall.
How are you feeling, Adam?
Well, not great, but, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you were rolling through it, though. It feels like you were going with your gut instinct, which is always the advice that we give. And here comes Randy in right now. Grapes in hand, Mountain Dew, and we also got some Fritz ice cream this morning.
Frozen custard.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
oh, my gosh. Frozen custard. How dare I? I apologize for that. Here comes Randy. Well, he's giving us a handout now. Sorry, Adam. We'll get to this in just 1 second because we have Fritz's frozen custard right now.
Hey, a little jealous, won't lie.
I know. And now, I'm excited about this. I haven't had Fritz's before. Have you had it before, Adam?
I have not, no.
Ooh. What is your favorite ice cream or frozen custard in town?
Oh, gosh. You got to go with Ted Drew's Concretes, right?
That's what I said, but I don't know. I got some pushback about that. Randy likes Fritz's a lot, so I'll give it a whirl this morning.
There we
Randy,
go.
say hi to Adam.
Adam, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing well. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for playing. We appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me.
Okay, ready for question number 1, Randy?
Ready.
Who is the only player in Major League Baseball history to win the regular season MVP at 2 different positions and on 2 different teams?
And on 2 different teams. 2 positions and 2 teams. Well, let's see. I don't know that... I know Frank Robinson won it with 2 different teams. Yount won it at 2 different positions, but he played his entire career with 1 team. So we've got... Hold on here. This will come to me in a moment. Cards. Oh, you don't know? Let's see. Joe Morgan didn't win with anybody except for the Reds. You know what? I'll do the lifeline here in the interest of time.
Okay. Frank Robinson, Robin Yount, or Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, hey, Rod. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Question
Rocky
2.
laughing in the background.
The Cardinals' last series victory in the playoffs came in the 2019 NLDS when they beat which team 3-2?
NLDS, Yadi Molina with a huge game-winning hit against the Braves. They had the big first inning against the right-hander Mike Fultonavich. Jack Flaherty stayed in the game for a while, and the Cardinals eliminated the Atlanta Braves in 2019.
On to question 3.
Question 3. Who did the Cardinals beat in the 2011 NLCS to advance to the World Series against the Rangers?
That would have been Nyjer Morgan and the Milwaukee Brewers. David Freese, MVP.
On this day in 1968, American runners Tommy Smith and John Carlos each put one fist up in protest while on the podium following their Olympic medals and the victories in the 200 meters. Where was that Olympics held?
Giancarlo Stanton?
No. He's playing for the Yankees.
Okay.
Two different names. There's a space between it. John Carlos.
Dan, I'm just going to take a wild guess here and say Mexico City. I don't know why, but I'm going to go with I'm going to guess here and say Mexico City. Mexico City.
Why do you toy with us?
Food.
Yeah.
Why do you do that?
You play with your food on a freaking Olympics location. That's what you're playing with your food on? That's like me giving a kid broccoli and him being like, "Oh yeah, this is fun."
So one of the worst analysts in the history of Monday Night Football was Dennis Miller. But Dennis Miller had a fantastic reference to these two gentlemen in Mexico City one time. We'll play it at some point. Want to do it at some point?
Comes right in Dennis Miller's Monday Night Football career. I like that.
Yeah.
Tony Kornheiser was on Monday Night Football too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I need to go back and find those games and listen to them. I'm fascinated by how that sounded. Let's go through, we have to announce the winner of today's fight.
Does that winner get Fritz's frozen custard?
If Adam wants to drive here and pick it up, then yeah, he can. If he's the winner today, he can have himself some Fritz's frozen custard. I think he actually gets Randy's if he wins.
Wow.
So is Andy the winner, taking away Randy's victory and his frozen custard? Or does Randy Carricker walk away with another victory this week? Ring that bell.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
Just win, baby.
I'm sorry, Adam. You heard Jack Buck there, and that means Randy Carricker hit the jack, and he beat you 4-2. You started off great, but unfortunately, the last two questions got you.
Yeah, no worries. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate y'all having me.
There you go. Let's go through those questions and answers. The only player in Major League Baseball history to win the regular season MVP at two different positions and on two different teams is, in fact, Alex Rodriguez, who wins it, of course, with the Texas Rangers at shortstop, and then he wins it twice with the New York Yankees while playing third base. Robin Yount famously won the MVP at shortstop and center field, which I think is fascinating. Frank Robinson, the first player to ever win MVP with two different teams. The Cardinals' last series victory in the playoffs came in the 2019 NLDS when they beat the Braves 3-2 before they would go on to fall to the Nationals. Who did the Cardinals beat in the 2011 NLCS to advance to the World Series against the Rangers? On this day in 2011, they finished off the Brewers and, of course, NLCS MVP David Freese before they would go on to beat the Rangers and, of course, World Series MVP David Freese. On this day in 1968, American runners Tommy Smith and John Carlos each put one fist up in the air in protest while on the podium following their Olympic medal victories in the 200 meters. It was, in fact, in Mexico City, which I would not have bet any amount of money that Randy would have ended up toying with his food on that question. I thought that one would have been like, really, we're going to do an Olympics question, but I was throwing it in there because of the history. And instead, you were sitting there like, no, I got this one in the bag. Shocking.
How about the Summer Olympics being on October 16th?
That is a little bit, yeah, I was wondering that as well. When I came across that, I was like, I got to double check this date because that seems a little wonky.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah,
they wouldn't do that now against the NFL, I guarantee it.
I'm guessing the thing is that July in Mexico prohibitively hot to the point where you want to start the events in August or September.
But they did it in Brazil.
and was prohibitively hot.
Yeah, it was.
And it caused a lot of issues.
TV ratings are more important than heat.
Were we smarter in 1968? Never mind, I'm not getting into this.
No, we didn't. The NFL wasn't the Goliath that it is now.
That's fair.
Yeah. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
And thanks to Adam for joining us. And thanks to Adam Fritz for sending us some Fritz's Frozen Custard. They've got a great St. Louis company, family owned for years in St. Louis, and I really am a fan.
I can't wait to try it. And I apologize for saying ice cream. I think I always say if something's like cold and creamy, then it's just ice cream.
That's reasonable. Yeah, that's
I
totally
put it
reasonable.
all under one umbrella.
Yeah,
but I'm excited to try this frozen custard, which you say is the best in all of St. Louis.
It's really, really, really good. They've got a special in there, as a matter of fact. Coming up next, our friend Elizabeth Meineke from Cardinals Magazine has a great piece with Masyn Winn and Ozzie Smith, and she's going to join us here in studio to talk about Masyn Winn perhaps becoming the face of the franchise for the Cardinals. Next on 101 ESPN. Welcome back to the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Randy Carricker, and there is a new issue of Cardinals Game Day magazine out with Ozzie Smith and Masyn Winn, Hall of Fame Cardinals shortstop and current Cardinals shortstop on the cover, and Elizabeth Meineke from Cardinals Magazine. I had a chance to sit down with those two and put together a great piece and joins us in studio now. Elizabeth, good to see you.
Good to see you guys. I feel like I'm sitting with a terrific triumvirate here, so it's an honor to be in studio.
It's great to have you with us. And you couldn't find two guys that embody Cardinal baseball historically and currently more than these two. Ozzie, obviously the Hall of Famer, and we all know about his exploits, but did you find when you were doing the story that there's similarities between these two?
Yes, several. Both on the field, that was one of the questions we asked Ozzie was, are there things that you see Masyn bringing to this position that you haven't seen in this organization since you played there? And he did say yes. He really kind of honed in on the instincts. He's like, great players, they have these instincts to be in the right place at the right time, and he sees that in Masyn. Another similarity too that we actually saw was sort of how they viewed their interaction with fans off the field. And, I don't have to tell you guys how incredible Ozzie has been about that through the years in St. Louis. But, Masyn has really, if you kind of, look at his past history, you can really sort of see that starting to develop. And so that was something we wanted to talk to them both about as well. And, Ozzie had kind of an interesting insight on that. He said, great players understand that you need to make people feel a part of something. And, he was like the greats in the Cardinals organization, Stan Musial, Red Shandies, they knew it. They wanted to be part of this community, and this community embraced them. And you can really, I think, see that desire forming in Masyn. He was like, I'm a Texas boy. Southern hospitality is a real thing. So I'm excited to see that aspect of him grow even more. He's a rookie this year, right? So I think he, wants to be respectful of the veterans in the clubhouse and, just put his head down, do his work. But as he continues to develop and grow, I think fans are going to see even more of that side of him. And I know that he really cares passionately about making that connection with fans. And it's going to be exciting to see him develop in that way.
Yeah, this magazine is absolutely great to look at. What fantastic picture that you have with Ozzie Smith and Masyn Winn. I'm holding up for the YouTube chat right now so that everybody could see it. And you have a portion in here where you talk to Ozzie Smith about Masyn Winn specifically. And he talked about what stood out to him was his intellect. What did he say about what he's seeing from Masyn Winn currently?
Well, Ozzie it's interesting to talk to them about sort of their mentorship, right? Their mentorship relationship. And, Ozzie said, you kind of do your mentoring in spring training, and then you let them go out and play during the season. And honestly, the genesis of this story came from Ozzie's enthusiasm about watching Masyn play. We were having an internal conversation in the organization, and someone mentioned to me, Ozzie is so excited about him. And so we're like, hey, we let's get them together to talk some baseball. And, throughout the course of that, it was fascinating to hear Ozzie talk about not only his enthusiasm for watching Masyn play and the entertainment value that he brings, but Ozzie also said, I have people come up to me every day and say how excited they are to watch Masyn at the ballpark. So I think that kind of shows not just the intellect and the instincts, but just the entertainment value too that Ozzie feels Masyn brings to the position.
Did Ozzie talk about it all, or Masyn talk about what they do in spring training on the field?
That's a great question. We sort of covered that portion of it from more of again, the sort of the mentorship aspect. So I think that, there are ways that they communicate when it comes to fielding and such like that happen during spring training. And then Masyn knows that Ozzie is a resource throughout the season that he can turn to for any sort of mentorship stuff, whether it's on the field or off the field.
Do they text during the season, or what do they do?
That's a great question. I don't know that they text that much during the season. Again, I think Ozzie kind of stays a little more hands-off unless the player initiates it, but that Masyn knows that resource is there and available. It was kind of fun, too, to even just watch them, during the photo shoot. They're both great conversationalists, so they were even just kind of keeping up a steady stream of conversation where, they'd be talking about, what gloves they used, or, Ozzie was asking Masyn, like, hey, did you ever try switch hitting? And Masyn was like, yeah, I did as a kid, and then they started throwing curveballs at me, so that was the end of that. So I think this is something that a relationship that Cardinals fans are going to be able to enjoy for several years to come, because they're still kind of getting to know each other too. And so the more that Masyn, the more time Masyn spends in the big leagues, he's obviously going to realize that he can go to Ozzie for any questions that he has. And so it's kind of fun to watch. Yeah.
One of the cool things about this relationship as well is that for example, Dan and I, we watched Whitey Ball, and Ozzie was the epitome of Whitey Ball, and that's the style of game that Masyn Winn plays. Not everybody plays that style of game, and I think that's probably a big part of the appreciation that Ozzie has, is that Masyn Winn is doing things that Ozzie did. Ozzie didn't hit the home runs that Masyn Winn is going to hit and has already hit. But I know that Ozzie really appreciates the style that Masyn plays with.
They talked about how they kind of felt like they were both a prototypical shortstop, right? That the sort of game has evolved to where that spot is looked at a little bit more offensively now than it used to be. And so they both felt like they kind of fit a similar mold when it came to more of an old school style shortstop. So I do think, however, it was kind of fun because we asked Ozzie, okay, what do you wish Masyn had experienced about playing in the Whitey Ball area? And he was like, definitely AstroTurf. And it was great to kind of watch him and Masyn interact as Ozzie explained, just some of the, as he called them, precautions you have to take, playing on AstroTurf, just about how hot it got and everything. And, he was like, these guys have it easy now. And Mason's like, we do. He's like, all I have to worry about are like cleat marks in the dirt, and they clean those every 2 innings. So and Masyn was getting a little bit of a history lesson as well, but I think he was appreciative of, again, the work that Ozzie put into it behind the scenes.
How special is it that the Cardinals organization has a guy like Ozzie Smith who is just always around making sure that he can help these young players? Because Masyn Winn isn't the only guy that he has obviously reached out to and helped throughout their career.
That's so true. And it doesn't even have to be, the young guys. I mean, Masyn said, yes, I was shaking when I met Ozzie in spring training, but he was like, every time Ozzie comes around, he was like, Nolan Arenado gets so excited every time Ozzie comes around. So there's someone obviously who has, a pretty impressive resume in and of himself who still, every time Ozzie decides to come to spring training and kind of share his knowledge, wants to soak that in and take that up. So I do think it's key, and I think it's important for young players in the Cardinals organization to realize that is why this franchise has such a good standing in the community, is because there were Cardinals greats who cared about passing on their knowledge and passing on a certain way how to play this game, and that they're willing to come back around and share that knowledge.
Did you ask him at all about being the face of the franchise moving forward?
That's a great question. We did not phrase it that way, no. I feel when it comes to a face of the franchise conversation, he is young, and so you want that to develop organically. But at the same time, I certainly feel that he has all of the tools to be able to do that. And, part of that conversation, right, is your actual play on the field, and then it's your potential. And, I'm going to defer to Ozzie on this. When he talked about, Mason's potential, he was very adamant about wanting to make sure that this came across in the piece that he believes that Masyn is a 5-tool player. And, Ozzie said it's so rare to find 5-tool players who will play that position. And I think when it comes to, again, his actual performance on the field, what Ozzie said, people come up to him every day and say, we are coming to the ballpark to, watch him play. We love watching him play. And so, yes, I think those are characteristics that bode very well to becoming the face of the franchise.
Elizabeth Meineke from Cardinals Magazine with us here on 101 ESPN. And how fitting that this Cardinal Game Day magazine comes out with Ozzie, 13-time Gold Glove winner, on the cover, along with Masyn Winn, who is a finalist for a Gold Glove in his rookie year.
Right. He did lead all Major League shortstops in defensive runs saved, so it'll be interesting to see how the voting plays out for the award. But we're definitely excited, and certainly well-deserved based on how he performed, this year on the field.
Yeah. One other thing about Masyn, because a lot of baseball players now, and a lot of baseball players historically, I shouldn't put it on guys now, but they just weren't fans. They were playing when they were kids. How much did Masyn know about Ozzie before he became a Cardinal?
That's a great question. And you do want to put this in context, right? Masyn was born the year that Ozzie was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So just to make all of us feel a little bit older this morning. I was, again, really impressed by just right off the bat how much respect Masyn showed for Ozzie. Mm-hmm. And Masyn himself says it in the piece. He was like, I was shaking when I met him, and I told him, my dad would probably be crying if he were here right now. So I think that just kind of goes to show how much Masyn, really credit to Masyn's upbringing, right? Mm-hmm. That he had that understanding of what Ozzie had brought to the franchise. And it was actually kind of cute because Masyn got to the clubhouse a little bit early before Ozzie did. And so Masyn was getting ready for the photo shoot. And so when he walked out, he actually had an Ozzie Smith bobblehead that he had brought with him that he wanted Ozzie to sign. So I think just that in and of itself kind of shows the deference that he has for what Ozzie has accomplished in this city and the knowledge that he brought coming into the organization about, of course, what Ozzie means.
And people can check it out. People can get the magazine. Just go down to the Cardinals store at the ballpark or go to cardinals.com/publications and you can get it mailed to you. And we tell our friend Stan McNeil, who works with you, what a great job that you guys do. I was talking to somebody within the last couple of days about how we just don't see real magazines anymore. And this is like what I grew up with. Great paper, unbelievable photography, great writing. This is as good as any magazine was ever done nationally. So you guys should be really proud of this.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Honestly, when you said that about the photos, one of my favorite things about this piece is, my boss pulled some photos of Ozzie from the archive. So we have some side-by-side photos of Masyn playing and then Ozzie playing. And it's just neat, again, to see that in print. You can actually look at that and say, wow, this really is a connection here.
Very cool. Elizabeth, thanks so much for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
The cover of the magazine, the greatest and the latest, Ozzie Smith and Masyn Winn, Cardinals Game Day magazine. That's Elizabeth Meineke. We thank her for coming in, and you can pick it up at the Cardinal Team Store or just go to cardinals.com/publications. Next up here on 101 ESPN, we're going to talk to Blues center Robert Thomas on your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here for Universal Windows Direct. Football season is here and you know what that means. Fall is also here too, and with cooler temperatures on the way, I know it's even starting today, it's time to make sure your home is ready to go. If you've been dealing with drafty windows all summer long, struggling on those crazy hot days, your AC working overtime, now is the perfect time to upgrade with Universal Windows Direct before the cold weather really starts to kick in here soon. Their windows feature Super Spacer technology, which makes the windows perform better, last longer, and helps keep your home more comfortable no matter the season. Plus, Universal Window Direct backs it all up with a true lifetime warranty as long as you own the home and a 20-year warranty to the next homeowner. Schedule your free in-home estimate today, and for every 2 windows you buy, get the next 2 for free, plus 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years. Restrictions apply. Mention my name and get an additional $250 off your next project. So call this number right now. It's 314-334-2522 or go to uwd.com. That's uwd.com. And like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
inside the Blues locker room.
What a goal by Robert Thomas!
It's time now for Blues forward Robert Thomas on the opening drive.
Driven by Pure Performance, the only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
Grimsley, Danny Mack, Randy Carricker, the opening drive, 101 ESPN. The Blues getting ready for their second home game of the season tomorrow night when they take on the Islanders. 6 o'clock pregame, 7 o'clock faceoff here on 101 ESPN. And we go to the celebrity line where Blues center Robert Thomas joins us as he does every week. Robert, good morning. How you doing?
Doing good, guys.
Good to have you with us. Hey, let's start with this because opening day of the baseball season, as you know, in St. Louis is treated like a holiday. And Blues fans were so fired up yesterday. They were at Union Station for the pep rally. I know that there was a lot of energy when the game started. What's opening day like for you, Robert, the home opener day?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. The last couple we've started at home, so it's been a little bit different than having a couple games on the road, but it's really exciting. It's nice to be back home. You always love playing in front of your fans, and you know how excited they are. So, it's a pretty cool day.
Obviously not the outcome that you guys wanted last night, Robert, but what was your big takeaway from the game? Some calls not going your way, but some other things happening there too.
Yeah, I think we created a lot of chances. Even in, I think it was like halfway through the game, they had 6 shots on net. I thought we started well. I thought we had a lot of momentum, and if we play like that for most games, I feel like we're going to be in the lead heading into the second half of the game. So I think it's important to remember that, stick with it, and those games are going to happen.
You've had a chance to play a lot of catch-up so far this year in these games. So is that a point of emphasis going into the game, and do you think it'll be a point of emphasis moving forward here?
We're definitely not trying to be coming from behind every single game, but I think it's something that we struggled with last year. If we didn't score first, our record wasn't too good last year, so it was something we wanted to fix this year. And you're not going to do it every single game, but just making a point that you're in every single game right to the end.
How do you fix something like that? That seems like more of a mental thing than a physical thing, is it?
Yeah, it's definitely mental. I think just comes with confidence. It comes with building. Just a complete game and not worrying about mistakes and little fluky things that happen throughout the game.
What about the road trip for you guys to start the season, just kind of taking a step back a little bit? As you mentioned, you guys were able to claw back in those first 2 games. What was going on in those?
Yeah, I think, it starts with one little play. You look at San Jose game, Fox's line plays great. They score a couple goals. They're physical. They start setting the tone for everyone, and everyone else just fed off that. And same thing happened in Seattle. So it just takes little things that build throughout the team and just the confidence that you're always in it.
You mentioned that line, and I'm sure that you've heard it from the reporters already, but what do you think about that 4th line being called the WTF line?
What are they called?
The WTF line.
WTF.
That's the first time I heard it. What does it say?
Walker Toropchenko Foxa, but then also WTF.
Don't say it on the air, Robert.
Okay, thanks. I'll be quiet on it. You guys always come up with names, so it's funny.
How about that 4th line, though? What kind of energy have they brought to the team so far?
Yeah, really good. They play the right way. They play hard. Whenever they get a goal for us, it's a big bump for the entire team. And, they're blocking shots on the PK. They're doing so many little things that are important throughout the game.
Hey, Robert, I'm not a hockey player, never have been a hockey player. Why is the 4th line always the energy line? Why isn't the 1st line the energy line?
I don't even know how to answer that question.
But it's true, right? Every team I've ever heard of anywhere. Okay, the 4th line, maybe it's because you guys are a skill line. Maybe that's part of it. But it seems like to be at a really high level of success, if everybody's playing with a high level of energy, that's going to make your team the best, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone has roles, and I think when teams find roles and succeed in their roles, then it creates a balanced game. And I think ultimately, that's what everyone talks about all the time is finding your role and succeeding in your role. And I guess maybe that's part of it.
You guys had a goal scored against you by the opposing goalie. Has that ever happened in a game that you've played in or a game that you've been watching? Because you watch hockey all over the place.
No, it's never happened.
Yeah. What was it? Was it demoralizing, or was it like, wow, I can't believe this happened?
Yeah, I'm definitely not happy about it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That being said, I could envision Binner scoring a goal sometime. He just appears to be that guy that could potentially do that. Do you see that in him? Could he, from his own crease, shoot one down the ice, get it into the opposing net?
Yeah, I think both of our goalies can play the puck really well. So, yeah, you never know.
The Islanders come to town, an early season game against an Eastern Conference opponent. Obviously, over the years, you've played the Islanders. And what do you see in them? What do you have to do against the Islanders to succeed tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think it's just about resiliency. We've been playing really well. We've been getting breaks that they score on us, and we just got to stick to our game plan. Islanders are a team that's beat some pretty good teams to start this year and are playing really well. So it's going to be a really tough test for us.
Robert, how much do you go back and look at video? And I think this is a general question with the team, but also individually. Go back, look at the film, evaluate what you have to do, and then move forward with the next practice. But how much between games do you look at video?
Yeah, I think everyone's different. For me personally, I watch a lot of video. I just love hockey, so I love watching, whether it's mine or other games. I'm a hockey nerd, so I watch a lot.
That's not a bad thing. I mean, you're trying to evaluate your own game and get better, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Robert, always great to have you with us. Thanks so much for the time. Go get them tomorrow night against the Islanders, and we'll talk next week, okay?
Yep. Thanks, guys.
See you later. Robert Thomas, Blues center, with us on 101 ESPN.
I don't think he realized that it's the fans. I was trying to say the fans that came up with the WTF line, but at least he already knows. We like to come up with nicknames on the show. Because what he didn't like, what was it last year he didn't like?
Bobby Tommy?
It was Bobby Tommy. But I feel like it's great. It's a great name.
I think so, too.
And we're like the nickname factory, and he didn't like that one. We'll have to discuss that with him.
We've had a lot of good nicknames over the years, Dan, and like some people are totally we got a text this morning. When are we going to get Nadub going again?
Yes.
Nathan Walker. I mean, Nadub is a great nickname, and it just hasn't taken hold here in St. Louis for some reason.
So it's a great nickname. Just ask you.
Yeah, well, I came up with it, of course.
Yeah, we take it very personally, Dan.
I'm telling you,
we
guys
put a lot
do.
of thought into these nicknames, and we get crushed when they're not liked by the player.
You know, Robert was not happy about my goaltender scoring question.
He wasn't happy about it.
No, he was not happy.
Well, I was going to ask the question.
And I don't blame him. I mean, it's against his team, so I get it.
But I have never seen one in person. If you're down 3-1 with 8 seconds left, you aren't coming back to win.
Right.
No.
So I know that he's on the ice and he's a competitor and he doesn't like losing the game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, kind of cool.
I actually enjoyed it. And I know we're talking to Blues fans. I'm not enjoying that they lost the game, but to see something unique at a hockey game, the game was out of reach. Yeah. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why not see it?
He wasn't. Well, I guess in that case too, I'm glad that that's actually his response, because if he was happy about it, then we'd have a lot of concerns about that.
True.
That's just him.
I
being
did
a
want
leader.
to ask though.
It's a fair question.
Honestly, after that, all I want is like the very last interview of the season, be like, so Robert, earlier in the season, you got to watch some history live in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
Now that we're almost a year after with the fact, wasn't it kind of cool? And just see if time has changed his answer at all.
It won't.
No,
I
evolution
guarantee it
happens.
won't.
Evolution happens. We're going to hear from
Guarantee it won't.
Grant Wistrom tomorrow in the 25th year anniversary of the greatest show on turf. After Super Bowl 36, and I try to be Mr. Positive, right? So I go to Grant Wistrom, and this is like a half hour after the game, after they've been crushed. They were crushed, metaphorically speaking, because they were 14.5-point favorites, and they lost the game. So I go to Grant and I say, you guys go 14-2. You win a divisional playoff game. You beat the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. At the end of the day, this is a really good year. He said, no, it wasn't. This year was a waste.
Yeah.
So, and 23 years later, I said, do you still have the same answer? He said, no, that was a good year. In the heat of the moment, I said that, but that was a really good year. And, we'll hear the interview with him tomorrow. But he has evolved with his feelings about that season, different than what he had a half hour after losing the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We'll just ask Robert, I guess, in 20 years about the goalie
exactly.
goal, if he finds it cool eventually.
We'll do it. Rush Hour Reset coming up next.
Cool.
I don't disagree with you, Dan.
Hardly ever see it.
Yeah.
Something you go to the ballpark, you're going to see something new.
He will eventually admit, whether it's at the end of this year or 5 years, 20 years, he will admit that it was cool to see that in person.
Danny,
I bet secretly he does, Dan.
I was going to ask the same question, and I was going to say it was cool to see.
I tried to
say it was cool to see.
I tried to soften it by saying, of course
You
it's
did.
against your team. You don't want to see it, but have you seen this before?
I completely understand.
Okay.
Nope.
We're moving on. That's the way it goes.
The Rush Hour Reset next time on 1 ESPN. Hey, St. Louis. Together Credit Union just made an exciting announcement. Together Credit Union is partnering with the St. Louis Zoo to offer the exclusive St. Louis Zoo debit card. How does it work? The St. Louis Zoo debit card rounds up the change from your transactions and donates the money to the St. Louis Zoo. Why does this matter? Well, your donations will help further the zoo's mission, including growth at St. Louis Zoo Wild Care Park in North County, opening in 2027. What's in it for you? All Together Credit Union members with the St. Louis Zoo debit card get an exclusive membership to the St. Louis Zoo. Your St. Louis Zoo membership will include discounts, attraction tickets, parking perks, and more. And if you sign up before the end of the year, you'll receive a sea lion plush toy with your St. Louis Zoo debit card. How can you get the card? Easy. There are two ways. One, stop by any local Together Credit Union branch. There are 14 in the Metro St. Louis area, and there's definitely one by you. Or two, you can just go online to togethercu.org/zoo and fill out the online application. Together Credit Union, federally insured by the NCUA.
Recapping the biggest stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Brought to you by James Carlton State Farm. Are your car and home insurance rates competitive?
Find out at carltoninsurance.net.
Over to Buchnevich. Look out, slaps it on net. Gustafson shooting for the empty net. It's a goalie goal! A power play goal for the Minnesota Wild goaltenders. Philip Gustafson scores for the Minnesota Wild into an empty net to make it a 4-1 score.
Okay, I got to tell you, Curbs usually isn't that excited for an opponent goal.
Well, we know that Robert Thomas wasn't excited about it.
Yeah.
He wasn't excited about it whatsoever. You know, that's the emotions after a loss last night, especially in your home opener. That's not a performance that you want to put out there. And you had some calls not go your way, and you have the goalie goal, and everybody's talking about that, and it's tough.
Kind of summed up the night, didn't it?
Yeah. It did.
It did sum up the night for the Blues. They have the situation with Nick Leddy, who was moved down a pairing. So third pairing with Matthew Kessel. Ryan Suter moved up to play with Colton Parayko. Those two, Parayko and Leddy, nearly 70 minutes of 5-on-5. They've been on the ice for 2 goals and 5 goals against. So, you know, Leddy, as Jamie talked about, making the first pass quickly. The game is moving fast. He's got to make that adjustment. The third goal by Minnesota, I just felt like it killed all the momentum in the game. Yeah. And the building got pretty quiet. And the pass reception was poor. I mean, you know, the Minnesota Wild didn't have an issue. It wasn't ice. It was just pass reception was fairly poor. So just one of those games where the Blues did have 72 shot attempts. They missed on 20. The 4 high-sticking penalties, 15 giveaways. So not a very crisp night for the Blues on opening night.
Matthew Joseph scoring his first Blues goal at 10:10 of the third. That was their only tally. That got them to within 3-1. That goalie goal allowed Minnesota to increase the lead to 4-1, and that was the final. Meanwhile, last night in the American League Championship Series, the New York Yankees get a sac fly and a home run from Aaron Judge, and they knock off the Guardians 6-3. So the Yankees lead that series 2-0. Game 3 of the National League Championship Series is later on in New York at Citi Field, the Doyers and the Mets.
Yep, the Yankees have all the momentum right now. They really do. What can the Guardians do to claw their way back into this one?
Momentum is as strong as your next day's starting pitcher.
Bingo.
Yep.
So that's what the Guardians need to do. They need to pitch. And Stephen Vogt, their manager, said last night, hey, we just have to be us. We have to calm down and be us. The Guardians haven't decided on who they're going to go with tomorrow. Clark Schmidt will go for the Yankees. But I think in their heart of hearts, the Guardians probably know that they're facing a juggernaut right now.
What do you guys think of the TV ratings? You ready? Figures released at the start of this week tell the story. Through the Division Series round, MLB's playoff viewership was up 18% over last year. So they're averaging about 3.5 million per game. Division Series games themselves pulled in 3.7 million, so 14% bump over 2023. I would assume that has it's in large part to having 2 New York teams. I would say having the Dodgers. I thought the Dodgers-Padres series was compelling. Detroit's a very good sports town, big media market, so they were a great story, but it's good to see that baseball viewership is up.
And also, just all of your big stars in Major League Baseball still playing, I think, is a big key part of that. You still have the Dodgers with all their star power that they have. You have the Yankees, of course, with their star power. And then you even have the Guardians, a team where you at least know some of the names, like Jose Ramirez. We know we've talked about Lane Thomas, if you're obviously following as a Cardinals fan, some of the former players, you know how Lane Thomas has been doing for the Guardians. So there's a lot of big names left, and I think that's a big draw. I'm curious, did we go over the ratings for the Dodgers and Padres? Because if you amplify that with the amount of drama that was going into it, I'm sure there was a huge spike in ratings for that series.
And you also had more stars there with Machado and Tatis, you've got those guys. And let's not dismiss Lindor either, who I think a lot of fans gravitate to. But I think, Dan, the big thing for you is having that New York market, because
I think so.
And L.A., having the Dodgers, it'd be different if it was the Angels. L.A. is a good Dodgers town. It's not a great baseball town, but it's a great Dodgers town.
There was a lot of empty seats during the day game that they had the other day. Now, part of that is traffic. You're in the middle of the day, and it's always commonplace if you go to Dodger Stadium, late arriving, early to leave, which happens. That's the only concern. To me, day games for baseball playoffs, I love it. Takes me back to my youth and watching day baseball. But I understand if you looked across the board, there were some empty seats in these various stadiums. Speaking of a stadium, sticking with the American League, this is going to be fascinating to watch. The Tampa Bay Rays will not be able to play any of their home games at Tropicana Field. So it does not have it can't release water. Plus, they've also lost the roof is literally gone. Send them out to Oakland. Let them play in that stadium.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
I like this
Gotta
idea,
get outside
Dan.
the box. But no, there's plenty of spring training sites that are in Florida, but where do they play coming up? And they have a new stadium coming, I believe it's in 28 when they open that up. But they're going to have a couple years to try to figure this thing out. It'll be interesting.
It will be interesting. Yeah, just seeing the damage done to that with the hurricane, that was really shocking to see.
I wonder if, based on the way that the Rays ordinarily draw anyway, why not just use one of the stadiums that they use for spring training down there?
That's what I said, yeah. Just use one of the minor league parks or spring training fields, which are minor league parks. But, yeah, and as you said, they don't draw very well anyway. Make it an intimate setting and be creative with it some way, somehow, if you're Major League Baseball. The other part of this is making sure that the stadium is equipped for TV. You know, some of these spring training sites are not great for television. You got to make it good for TV, too.
Speaking of TV, when we were talking about yesterday about how TV contracts are impacting payroll, if you're a team like the Rays, are you clamoring for Major League Baseball to really take over this? Because you obviously maybe don't have the fan base that could house having your own network, like we discussed with some of the other big market teams.
But it'd be dependent on what, I would assume, what they're drawing in fan base wise, like what their ratings are, which I have no idea. I would assume they're not great just because they don't draw very well, and there's other things to do that fans are attracted to, I think, in Tampa Bay. But if they're a good young team, which by all accounts they should be, they've kind of going through another cycle of their farm system. It shouldn't be that by the time the 28 opens up here, they should be a very good team.
The NFL's Week 7 starts tomorrow. You've got the Broncos at New Orleans. That'll be fun. I think the prime games have been pretty well. And by the way, the NFL, they haven't done this. They were only allowed to start it last year, but they're going to flex one of the Monday night. They're going to flex a good game into Monday night coming up.
I think the Bengals got bumped. Does that sound right? Their schedule, by the way, looking at that, for my friends, is going to get a little bit better. They're going to have a chance to get in the playoffs before this is all said and done. They got Joe Burrow. Schedule plays out a little bit easier. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if they get in.
Yeah, you have the Browns, you have the Eagles. Who else do they have coming up next? I'm trying to see for the Bengals.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I just know they're winnable games.
Browns, Eagles, Raiders, Ravens, Chargers, Steelers, Cowboys.
Yep.
So there you go.
If you're the Steelers, do you go with Justin Fields this weekend?
I would, but I don't think Mike Tomlin is going to. It appears as if
like
Russell Wilson is going to be the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. They had their best offensive day in a long time, 2 years yesterday. So,
and he's not throwing a ton of interceptions. No. He's keeping he's made a lot of plays with his legs. I don't know if I do that just yet.
I wonder if Mike Tomlin has that philosophy, though. You can't lose your job because of injury.
Yeah.
And if he wants to stick by that with his team. We had this question on the fight. This is the date of Tommy Smith and John Carlos, two African-American athletes raising their fists during the national anthem at the 1968 Summer Games in Mexico City. And I mentioned that call, those names were actually used in a St. Louis Rams Monday night game, opening game of the 2000 season. This is really probably the only highlight for Dennis Miller's football analyst career. It was one of the most fun plays, maybe the most fun play in the history of the St. Louis Rams at the Dome.
Looking Hakeem with an escort. It's a track meet. They don't need a football, they need a baton.
It's the fastest football team I've ever seen.
March has assembled a murderer's row of haste. They were incredible last year. They're more incredible right now.
Last time I saw speed like this was John Carlos and Tommy Smith in Mexico City.
I'm not even sure Carl Lewis can win a spot on this roster.
They were unbelievable.
It's fun to watch.
And Dennis Miller. This is the NHRA Winter Nationals.
What do you think of Dennis on Monday Night Football?
I thought it was terrible.
He
it was rough.
He had like 7 one-liners.
Yeah, it was great.
In that he goes. It should be a baton. This is like the NHR race. They look like Romulus and Remus going down the sidelines. Yeah. And then I had the other two where he had, was that why he annoyed you as a commentator? Is that his commentating was essentially one-liners like that?
That was great, but I think he just went. I kind of like the football part of it, I guess. And
I was just going to say, people want the game.
Yeah.
Just give me the game.
Yeah, and Dan Fouts was a really good analyst. And Dan Fouts, he was the quarterback for Eric Coryell. And he said, this is the most unbelievable offense I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. I thought that Miller made an attempt to try to overshadow that year Dan Fouts.
I would say that if you ask the majority of sports fans when they watch games on television, they generally would say, and I would say the majority of them would just say, just give me the game.
Yeah.
Just show me the game, show me the replays, and talk about the game.
And I want to be taught something by the analyst. There is no way that Dennis Miller was going to teach me anything. And with all due respect to him, Dan Fouts can teach me something. Troy Aikman can teach me something. Tom Brady can teach me something. Dennis Miller, Tony Kornheiser can't.
Tim McCarver was the best.
Oh, yeah. He taught me stuff all the time.
Taught me things that I'll never, ever forget. And he always referred to George Kissel, and he always referred to cue cards that were given to him that he learned the game from the Cardinals minor league instructors. God rest his soul. Today's his birthday, so I miss him. He was one of my best friends. He turned into one of my best friends, and I miss him every day and learned a lot from Tim, both on and off the field. He was just a remarkable man.
He was great. By the way, what do you think about when the Cardinals make a pitching change and Ollie gives cards to every infielder?
I always watch that. I think it's interesting. You know, I would love to see, because they're talking, I would assume, well, I do know, it's about positioning.
Positioning, right.
And, you know, what a guy has done recently and where you should play, how he matches up against a particular pitcher as well. That's part of the cards as well. I don't know. I find it interesting. I'd love to be a fly in the wall and how they laminate those and put it all together.
And I would like, and I know this is way back, this is fist at the cloud guy. I liked it when players knew what was going on.
Back in the day,
they didn't need cards. They just played the game.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just a little refresher.
Yeah, right. Yes, I love the Mark McGwire philosophy about video and finding out about the opposing pitcher. He said, by the time you drive into that gate at the ballpark, you should know everything about the pitcher you're going to face that night. You shouldn't have to do it once you're at the ballpark. Once you're at the ballpark, everything should be physical. All the mental should be taken care of when you drive through that gate.
And you think about the guys that would be inserted into a game under Whitey. You're talking about pinch hitting appearances, and you're talking about when you'd come out of a bullpen to pitch in a game, and those players all knew. They knew for the most part that if this guy comes in, I'm going to pinch hit. If this guy comes up, I'm coming in the game to throw. They knew the matchups, and they knew essentially, because Whitey had told him before the game, if this happens, you're going in.
It's one of my favorite things, one of the things about Ricky Horton. He said, when I woke up in the morning, I knew what the situation was going to be. If we were playing the Mets, 7th inning, Darryl Strawberry, I'm in the game.
Yeah, I'm in there to face Straw. It was really simple.
Yeah.
Howard Johnson was another one. He'd come in to face him.
Yeah.
Hojo.
Know your role. Everybody knew their role.
Yeah.
Coming up, and that's our Rush Hour Reset, late edition of the Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN. We've got some NFL news and notes, including one NFL person that's a jerk. Well, there's more than one, but this one was particularly a jerk this week. That's next on 101 ESPN. When is the best time to sell your home? Well, if you hire Gloria Lou to be your agent, there is no best time. Every time is great with Gloria Lou because she guarantees to sell your home at your agreed-to price and time frame, or she'll buy it herself, and that's guaranteed in writing. Gloria Lou from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty is available to you at 314-325-6888, or you can find her on the web at gloriahasthebuyers.com. And if you do want to sell quickly, Gloria has a plan for you. If you want to get the most money, Gloria has a plan for you. And she can make every plan work because she already has buyers in a database of buyers that she's put together over the course of the last 20 years that she's been in business. So she's going to be able to net you the most money and create the highest demand. And many times you're going to get multiple offers, and that means more money in your pocket. Gloria Lou is the best agent in town, and you need to get in touch with her. If you're even considering selling your home, find out what you can do with Gloria Lou. 314-325-6888 on the web at gloriahasthebuyers.com. As always, Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date. To learn more, visit gloriahasthebuyers.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues fall to the Wild in their home opener last night, 4-1. They'll be back in the building looking for a W, facing off against the Islanders on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Puck drop. You can catch the pregame show right here on 101 ESPN starting at 6 p.m. Major League Baseball playoffs last night. The Yankees take a 2-0 lead in the ALCS with a 6-3 victory over the Guardians. In the NLCS tonight, that's all knotted up at one game apiece. You can catch Game 3 right here on 101 ESPN between the Dodgers and the Mets. Pregame starts at 6:30. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones does a weekly hit on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. He's the owner and he is the general manager, and he does a hit. And you would think that one of the reasons he does the hit is to answer questions about his job as the general manager. We ask questions of Doug Armstrong and John Mozeliak and Lutz Pfannenstiel in our town about what has happened with players and what has happened with moves. And yesterday on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, the hosts of the show started asking Jones about moves that he did or did not make as general manager. And this is the way he responded.
Jerry, 1970, a little different from this past off season in building the team we're talking about today, which there was a lot of criticism that you guys didn't add, didn't spend, and don't add, and don't spend, and are not aggressive enough with some of the problems that are still haunting the Cowboys today that we see play out on the field. That's the point of talking about the offseason.
I remember those criticisms very well. Okay, so what?
Are they playing out to be accurate?
What's your point? What's your point?
Seems like my point.
Listen, let me tell you what I'll do. Let me tell you what I'll do about it. I will let us sit down and look at the decisions we've made over the last several years. Okay? I'll look at it. Now, if you think I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over a radio and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwater, you have got to be smoking something over there this morning. I'm not. And I really don't, and I don't even want our listeners to listen to me, to talk about this is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
Well, my job is to ask why.
A job, or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, man.
Jerry, we're trying to figure out why the team is.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. You're not going to figure out what the team is doing right or wrong. If you are, or any 5 or 10 like you, you need to come to this meeting I'm going to today. There are 32 teams here. You're geniuses. Now, listen, we both know we're talking to a lot of great fans and a lot of great listeners. And I am very sorry for what happened out there Sunday. I'm sick about what happened Sunday. Now, I'm not talking to these yahoos on the end of this phone. I'm talking to you, the fans that are listening this morning. And we can spend a lot of time going over zigging and zagging. So let's just go ahead. I'm trying to answer your questions, man. You want some conversation this morning? You're getting it.
For me, this job, the main job that we have is fans with access, and they have access to Jerry Jones, who put together the team. He said during the offseason that they were going all in. Our chief question should always be why. And I don't think it's unreasonable to ask the general manager of a team that put said team together, said they were going all in, why is it not succeeding? And Jerry Jones seems averse to answering that question.
Yeah, even more than that, he threatened their jobs because they were doing their jobs, Randy, to the point of what you're talking about there. They're asking those fair questions because guess what? All the other Cowboys fans are thinking the exact same thing. He's the general manager. And what did the Cowboys do this offseason, guys?
Nothing.
They brought in Ezekiel Elliott. Guess who else was sitting out there? Derrick Henry, who actually lives in Dallas and mentioned on the Dan Patrick show just a few days ago that he actually would have been open to going to Dallas. So that is another decision on Jerry Jones that he dropped the ball on. That's the fact of the matter, is that his lack of offseason moves led to this point that we're seeing with the Cowboys right now. I really applaud the hosts for asking those tough questions, the questions that need to be asked. Jerry threatened their jobs because they were doing their jobs, and it's not fair. He even questioned basically even their football knowledge.
Yep.
Okay, Jerry, if you're paying these guys,
yahoos.
Yeah, if you are paying these guys, like you're saying, why would you pay people that don't know ball to talk about your team every single day?
Yeah. They're 0-3 at home. Didn't make it to the end zone on Sunday. QB threw 2 interceptions. No wide receivers really outside of C.D. Lamb. The job of the media, at least part of it, is to be the conduit between the fans and those like the players in the front office. They were doing their jobs. I'll disagree with you, bro. I didn't even think they were tough questions. I just thought they were fair questions and things that fans want to know about. And at this point in his life, in his career, his football life, he should be prepared. He should know that this is coming. Now, on the other side, he is 82 years old. And, you know, you're 82, you're 82. It's not as easy maybe when you were 72 or 60 or 50 years old, but still, he puts himself on these shows. He knows it's a local weekly hit, and the conversation should have been, you know what, it's on me. We're not playing well. We need to turn things around. That's all you got to say.
We've known here in St. Louis what a Richard this guy is for years because he really precipitated the departure of our team. I'm glad America gets to hear what a jerk Jerry Jones is.
He really is. It's really shameful. At this point in the NFL, I know the NFL doesn't like to get involved, obviously, with things with their NFL owners, but when you have an owner going on his flagship radio station threatening people's jobs because they're asking, like we just talked about, fair questions about the offseason moves when he is the GM of the team, is there something the NFL needs to step in and do here soon?
Well, it depends on what level of clout he has. That station is owned by Odyssey. the same company that owns KMOX here in St. Louis, I would be absolutely stunned, especially now after he said that, if these guys would not be the most secure guys in that building.
You're probably right. And Roger Goodell, to your question, Brooke, would have to be the one I would think is the point man on this if you're going to discipline him or do something with that. And he's at the behest of the owners. So he's not going to do anything.
Roger Goodell did get Bob Costas fired at NBC.
When they're talking about concussions?
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing is that there's no checks and balances system in the NFL. That's something that as an NFL fan, I love watching the NFL. I love talking about it every single week. I can't get enough of it. Like Dan, as you mentioned, your friends love watching and betting on games too. I love playing fantasy football. What I don't love about the NFL is things like this, where the NFL owners obviously are only surrounded by yes men, and they feel like they can do whatever they want, where they can go and boss around people, threaten people's jobs when all they're doing is their jobs and asking just fair questions, doing the right thing in those situations. And you see a power-hungry person like Jerry Jones really just going off the rails in that situation. There's no checks and balances system. That's my problem. We were talking about Dan Snyder. You're talking about Bob Costas. There's a lot of people where it took a really long time for something to be done to those owners, and that's because there's nothing to really hold them accountable in the NFL.
This is the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. And by the way, I enjoyed fantasy football until last weekend. Terrible, stupid sport. Coming up on 101 ESPN, we've got Rocc and Roll. Stick around.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. It's because it really feels like I've joined a community. I love going down to the downtown location where they always host so many wonderful events, and I love going to the west location just to even hang out. That's where I go and work out, also where I go and play tennis in their indoor courts. It's so much fun, and even just to go grab lunch there. They always provide such a wonderful experience. Their staff is amazing, and that's why I love my MAC.
Hey, guys, I want you to head to Schnucks today because they've got some amazing things happening. Here we are. It's already October 16th. And today, October 16th, when you head to Schnucks, you can get an incredible deal on St. Louis pizzas. Emo's Pizza, just $5.99 a piece. A limit of 6 when you go to Schnucks today. Pep's Darft House pizzas are just $5.99 a piece, limit 6. And Brew Pub pizzas are $5.99 a pop, a limit of 6 when you go to Schnucks. Make sure you take advantage of this week's huge savings and keep your eyes open for the next Deals and Steals sale at Schnucks. As a matter of fact, Schnucks Deals and Steals is tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday at Schnucks. They have amazing deals throughout the store that you are going to love. And if you want to feed your family and get that big shopping trip out of the way, Steals and Deals at Schnucks tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday is the place to go with your local Schnucks store. Don't forget to download the Schnucks Rewards app before you go by. And hey, if you're having a party for football, maybe a party for some hockey, maybe a party for some playoff baseball, stop by and pick up the pizzas today at Schnucks.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football, and you can catch Anthony Stalter and Rafe from The Riz Show at Hot Shots in Fenton from 6:30 to 8:30. Hang out with the guys and watch Thursday Night Football between the Broncos and the Saints. And while you're there, get signed up for some Point and 101 ESPN. Yay! Giveaways and enjoy a cold Bud Light. That is tomorrow night, Thursday, from 6:30 to 8:30 with Rafe and Stalter at Hot Shots Fenton, refreshed by Bud Light. All right, Matthew, Rock and Roll, what do you got for us?
Well, we were talking about Jerry Jones, and so obviously we need to break down the newest owner in the NFL circle, and that is new partial owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost said Oakland. And that is Tom Brady, ladies and gentlemen. He is now a partial, he's now a partial owner. By the way, I think it's great that 23 years after beating them in the AFC Championship game, the Patriots are confirming that they own the Raiders, because not only is Tom Brady buying into the Raiders ownership, but Richard Seymour has also bought a percentage of the Raiders ownership. So I like the Patriots just completely subsuming the Raiders. It took them 23 years, but eventually they finished off the job. The thing for me coming down is Brady's restrictions as a part-time owner with his broadcasting career. The restrictions are he is not permitted to be in another team's facility. He's not permitted to witness practice. He's not permitted to attend broadcast production meetings either in person or virtually. Now, I've never broadcasted beyond the college level in some smaller professional leagues. Aren't the broadcast meetings a little crucial to doing your job? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're imperative.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, imperative. So not even a little bit. You'd say it's almost impossible to do the job without them.
Not impossible.
Almost,
but it's very important.
Okay,
yeah, very important.
He's also prohibited from publicly criticizing game officials and other clubs.
It's part of the job too.
Can't wait for the penetrating analysis whenever he's on a game.
Yeah, really. Wow, that's going to be bad.
I did some NFL games, and I distinctly remember Rams, Minnesota, and Mike Tomlin was the defensive coordinator of the Vikings, and he was unbelievable in the meetings and told us exactly what they were going to do. If they come out in this formation, they're going to be in this set, look for this matchup, this is what we're trying to do in the middle. I mean, he told you what to expect. And the NFL understands that TV drives the bus. And so they're told, be open, be as honest as you can be. Let them know some things that are happening to give them better insight into the game. I do think that Tom Brady will be, and I think he's gotten a lot better and I thought he was fine at the beginning. He's getting better and better as he gets more comfortable. But those kind of things are important. You got to be in the meetings.
Yeah, I'm really shocked by that about, how is that going to affect things for him?
Especially as an analyst.
He needs to go to Mark Davis, and he needs to get John Gruden's number, because John Gruden wouldn't criticize anybody, right? He never criticized officials or the other team, so that part of it was fine. But Gruden was at practice, and he was in the meetings. He knew the quarterbacks intimately before the teams even had the guys. And so I don't see how Brady is going to effectively do this job. If you listen to Troy Aikman every Monday night, and how critical he is of coaches, teams, officials. And he's a really good analyst because he feels like he has the freedom and does have the freedom to make those criticisms. There's no way that you can be as good as you can be if you can't be critical of people in the sport.
And they're not a home team broadcast. It's a national broadcast, which is something to keep in mind. So you're going to the rest of the country. And I just think that you need to be in the meetings. You need to get as much info as you possibly can to prepare for the games.
Maybe he and Tony Romo just need to go play golf on Fridays and Saturdays.
Tony likes his golf.
Yeah.
He really does.
He and Scotty Scheffler play a lot of golf together.
And we had some people just texting in. I know earlier when we were talking about this, just asking the question of why can't he be in those meetings as an owner?
Because that is many times proprietary information that he would get from another team, and he is a representative of the Raiders. So depending on, let's say the Raiders, he's doing a game between the Lions. Let's just do a Lions-Vikings this weekend, okay? And Brady's doing that game. And he gets some information on the Vikings. And 7 games down the road, the Vikings are playing the Raiders. You don't want him having that information, regardless of who it is, because of optics. You don't want him having that information that he could conceivably pass along to the Raiders about the Vikings.
There you go. Sums it up. That's why.
And with Tom Brady, I'm sure he doesn't want another cheating scandal on his resume.
He's already got 2. He doesn't need any more.
Yeah.
There were 2 other stipulations also, which I think are going to be smaller, but I wonder how these will eventually come out. He's subject to the NFL's gambling policy, so if they throw up a line or a stat on the broadcast, does he just kind of have to throw up his hands and he can't comment on that moment in the broadcast? Like, does he have to just be like dead silent if they mention like a 6.5-point spread?
Do they do that in the NFL? I don't think they do it yet anyway.
Yeah, I guess they don't. I mean, you're right. They do them much more subtly. So I'm guessing in the future it would hamstring their ability to add that into the broadcast more so than this one. Subject to the NFL's anti-tampering policy, which would that mean that if he's calling a game, like, how are they going to get him for tampering if he starts talking about how the Raiders really need a wide receiver, and then like a week later he's talking about how great a wide receiver is, who's going to be a free agent? Like, how does the anti-tampering thing even get taken into account?
Well, he is Tom Brady, and if he goes down to the field, is he allowed to go down to the field pregame? I guess not.
That is not listed here. So I assume he would be allowed to.
So Tom Brady goes down to the field again, Vikings, and is talking to Justin Jefferson. He's just Tom Brady. He doesn't need to say anything. Justin Jefferson knows that Tom Brady is an owner of the Raiders. He knows that the Raiders need a wide receiver. And Tom Brady shows himself to be a really cool guy to Justin Jefferson. That could sway Justin Jefferson's free agent decision, could it not?
Yes, it could. And, it's the decision. You want to broadcast these games or do you want to own the team? And was my take it or leave it. I just think that you're compromised. There's a conflict of interest when you do this, whether you mean to or not. And he can try to stick to this as much as he wants. But he's still going to have info that even though he's a minority owner, I mean, the owner came out yesterday and said, well, we got the guy that could draft our next QB.
Yeah.
So he's going to have info. He's going to have influence on potentially in what they do in the draft.
Take it or leave it. Tom Brady is as good an owner as Michael Jordan was.
That's a good question. Now, Jordan had how much percentage of the team, the Charlotte Bobcats?
I think it was over 80.
Yeah, he had a good portion of that.
So I'd say that he's not quite there just because of his minority stake in the team.
It's one thing if this is a guy on your third broadcast team, because we just want to have Tom Brady on our broadcast team, but we're getting hamstrung, so it's not our main broadcast team. This is a guy you just gave a king's ransom to be the main broadcaster for all your big games, and now it's just like, okay, can't do a bunch of things on it.
That's another thing I wondered is how much did the collateral from the $375 million contract help him get to the 10%?
Just thinking
to buy the franchise.
Because in career earnings, he's not as much as you would think.
No.
Endorsements, yes. And with this broadcast situation, it's a ton of money. It's what, $350?
$375.
$375.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, that takes him over the top on some of this.
I mean, we have like a replacement ref situation. One guy going like this and one guy saying incomplete. Tom Brady's just supposed to sit there and be like, I like whatever they're going to do here.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, thanks.
Great job by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes, and I had frozen custard. It was delicious.
Thank
you, Fritz's. 10 out of 10.
Oh.
Delicious.
12 out of 10.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
I've been shorting the peanut butter sauce my entire life. Thank you for showing me the light.
You got it. Daniel?
Randall?
You were awesome today.
You too, sir.
As always.
Congratulations on the fight. I know it's one of your first wins.
Thank you. I'm excited about that W. Big W. You can hear it again on the podcast. Brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Center, the 101 ESPN app, and 101ESPN.com. Bring you the podcast of the opening drive every day. We have a balloon party with T-Mac and Ajax coming up, followed by BK and Ferrario from 11 to 2. Fast Lane from 2 to 6, and then tonight, Doyers and Mets pregame at 6:30 for Game 3 of their series. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us until tomorrow morning at 7, have a great hump day, St. Louis.